This is Preparing You.
The strength of street knowledge.
The willingness to speak truth.
And I always want to do something. I always want to help my people.
Yeah! After listening to the lies made up by the federal government, mainstream media.
I'm gonna tell them what.
Ain't right, man, ain't right.
You know what I mean?
I think it's time for you to hear the truth. Tell the truth, man.
Every nation, in every region, now has a decision to make.
They don't like my song. Bush came to my yard, he wants to take me on. Phone the most high, I'm like, yo, it's on. Devil's in my face, Pop, don't be long.
All you need is spice and show. Have no fear, my son, my kingdom you alone. 400 years, no knowledge of your home. Now is your chance to reclaim your throne.
Okay, Pop, yeah, no doubt. A bunch of bad ones have taken him out. But he reckons I got weapons, what's he talking about? I don't like the way the devil's running his mouth.
Now watch that, it's just an excuse. See, they don't like you, son, cause you tell the truth.
Hey, yo, Pop, United Nations turned up. They wanna search my yard till I them up.
Nah, son, you leave them to me. Now you deal with that portion, call it power facility. I got fire for them backside for those who oppose me. Hurricane, tornadoes, earthquakes, you'll see.
Exodus, the devil we no like. See me left from Rome upon the star line. Sir Marcus Garvey upon my mind. So me lay upon the black star line. Exodus, the devil we no like. See me left from Rome upon the star line. Sir Marcus Garvey upon my mind. So me lay upon the black star line.
I'm interested in the truth, and the truth is what I will pursue.
We have to recognize who our major enemy is.
The biggest challenge before you right now is, who is the enemy?
Life is becoming increasingly miserable for everybody. But when they find out who it is that's causing trouble.
I will tell you what the mainstream media will not tell you.
That the Jewish people control the media.
People need to get out of denial very quickly, because your children are being poisoned, you're being poisoned, children are being indoctrinated and programmed and turned into software programs at school, you're being poisoned in the air, you've been poisoned from the sky, poisoned in your food, poisoned in your water, poisoned by vaccine. How bad does it have to get before people in vast numbers realize that the world ain't like they thought it was?
I'm talking to you. The principle and the idea was divide and rule, divide and conquer. $1 billion a week spent on war. 15 million Americans are homeless in the street. We can build Iraq and Afghanistan, but leave you with nothing.
You have to come together. There has to be a foundation of unity before you to get anywhere, especially if you're black in this country.
Remember, all I'm offering is the truth, nothing else.
I want you to hear me.
Yeah!
Speak the truth regardless of circumstance and stand up on the truth from the cradle to the grave.
Devils on some dirty way. Yo, the murder was the case they gave. And it was just the other day when they stepped out the caucus man in cage. The murder's undercover blood. But guess what? They slipped up. The people are starting to wake up, and as soon as we get together, they ain't here to apologize for the outcry while we're on the genocide. Till today, from the time you arrived, Mother Africa is still dripping blood from her eyes. Ain't super turning around my words. I'ma tell the truth till it hurts. And I'ma keep spreading love to the peace. But right now, I'ma drop the truth on the verse. And I'ma dismiss unrighteousness. My backside, they can kiss, they can't handle this. I got a long list of brains with power fists who insist government's taking a piss.
Exodus, the devil we no like. See we left from Rome upon the star line. Sir Marcus Garvey upon my mind. So we lay upon the black star line. Exodus, the devil we no like. See we left from Rome upon the star line. Sir Marcus Garvey upon my mind. So we lay upon the black star line.
Come, let me bust the things for all you hustling. I might scuff your Tims how I'm busting in the fight. I'm struggling on some other thing. Head wrap and skull cap, I call my my brother King. Wagwanin and you know that. It's like a prison wing, how we keep the show pack. I don't hold back. Radio, play my whole track. Most cats listen close as phone taps. There's no black in the Union Jack. Britain flows pierce ears like guns with studs in them. Count bars like you're stuck in prison. Count scars on a body that's slug ridden. It's the fusion of the ease, brews and ganja, giving these youths delusions of grandeur. And only a few who've left to have a stretch on the psychiatric wing return to the manor. I'm the one that rap for them people suffering. Try function in a world that's got no love for them. Enough of them would rather vote for Big Brother than vote for them hypocrites that's in the government. Well, f*** them then. It's Emmanuel and Brother Ben.
Yeah. Exodus, the
Felt it your entire life. If there's something wrong, you don't know what it is, but it's there, like a splinter in your mind.
You think the US don't have weapons of mass destruction?
It's a general idea. With who? I'm working on it.
Greetings, Zotep, peace, Jumbo, Salamo. This is Sayshara, the interactive talk Sunday radio show. So this is for Ferity Radio, and I'm locked in and tuned in today, Sunday, between the hours of 3 and 6 p.m. Okay, so we've got a lot of things to go through. I want to say, before I say anything else, that Ra willing that you're in good spirits, you're in the best of health, and life is treating you well. All right, so it's been very interesting the last few days, okay? And I want to say that for all those people that's locked in and tuned in, everyone's got a story, so you've got a story out there. I think there's ways that we need to communicate our stories and things that are actually happening out there. I think that we need to be able to share more information around whatever things that you see that are suspicious, that are unusual, and things that you feel that's relevant that people need to know or about, or at least hear about, okay? The things that's happening out there, because there's so much things happening that really there isn't a lot of time to go through everything. So I'm here, and I'm always interested to hear what other people are saying. But other than that, I will be talking about some things that's relevant and that's live, that's happening right now. Predominantly, we're going to be talking about the Black African Experience 2020 and what's that all about. Because at the present moment, what seems to be appearing to happening is that there's some sort of correlation going on with us, no matter where we are on the planet Earth, okay? And we need to look at that. We need to also think about how can Africa protect their own health. And there's a good reason for saying that. And I feel like all of the things that's happening now, whether it's pre-planned or whether it's an accident or coincidence or all of this stuff, okay? We have to be able to take and learn from this experience as best as we possibly can and see what we can do to move ourselves forward as a group of people, as a nation of people, as Black African people of heritage, ancestry, descendancy, the original people on the planet Earth, okay? And when we're talking about looking at ourselves as a group, retrospectively, and how other groups of people look at us, see us, and how they want to deal with us, do business with us, socialize with us, and how they want to relate with us, and all these different things, okay, that all groups of people have to do in this life that we're living in. And we're here the 19th of April and 2020. The time is going very, very fast, And at the same time, we're under this condition of this lockdown, shutdown, quarantine, isolation situation. And so as a group of people, we're having to deal with all these different dynamics, okay, that we're not familiar with, or we're not prepared for, or we're not used to this, okay? So it'd be interesting to know from people, from their experiences, how they think or feel about what's happening the last couple of months of this year, 2020. And remember now, most people are going to be affected, okay, especially the poor people that are around the world, okay? And different groups of people have different stories, and, you know, everyone's got their experiences around having to use their coping mechanisms and be able to support and do the things that's necessary that we have to do to continue to do the work that's really important, okay? And I'm sure every group is doing that, and as back having a people, of course we have to continue to do that, okay? But what's the question? I'm going to be asking so many things, okay? And you're welcome to interrupt me at any point in time, because this is a interactive talk show. It's not just about me, Sayshara, it's about the listening audience and what you're saying. I'm only giving you information to inform you, to make you be aware, to, as I always say, I'm here to conversate, mediate, and facilitate the conversations, okay? And for us to have intelligent and constructive dialogues. So it's good to have your participation at every point in time. Whenever you feel that you need to phone up, the numbers are 073 054 17668. So the 0730 541 7668. Okay. And if anybody wants to send me a text, by all means, send me a text. Okay. Let me know how I'm sounding. And if you're not clear on something or anything in particular, maybe just send me a text and maybe I can explain things a little bit more. Okay. Sometimes when we talk about things, some things you can touch on, you're just touching on, you're not really going too deep into, and other times you can talk really deep into things, okay? And, you know, you're going to cross-reference many different things, okay, around reality, okay? But generally, I like to keep to a particular topic or subject and kind of focus on that, all right? But generally, I want people to be able to get it all out. Whatever it is that you want to get out, just get it all out, okay? You should be able to think about how we need to express ourselves as best as we possibly can and use these types of medium effectively in order for us to do that, okay? So it's very important that we use and develop our own communication systems so we can use it effectively, okay, to be able to move us going forward, to be able to advance the things that we need to do in order for us to progress and do the very things that we need to do to improve our conditions and our quality of life and our whole way of being for our individual beings and our families and our children, our future generations, okay? And we just want to focus, a lot of us I know, want to focus on just all the good things in life, okay? That's going to move us going forward, okay? And that's the priority that we set ourselves, our own targets, our own goals and aim and objective. That's really predominantly just focusing on our own people as a nation of people. And we're not saying that we're not going to help other groups of people if we have to, or if it's necessary. Do you know what I'm saying? But primarily we got to focus on ourselves and what we need to do for ourselves. And we you know, the stronger we become, the more we'll be able to help other groups of people when it's appropriate, okay? But I think that the situation that we're in 2020, and have been for some time, historically, that we have to think about doing things where we're dependent on ourselves. And that's why when we're looking at our health, let's think about talking about not having other people looking after our health. Let's think about talking about how do we get to a place where we can protect our own health in the Caribbean, in the continent of Africa, no matter where we are on the planet Earth, okay? But I think to put things into perspective, Africa and the Caribbean predominantly, and even South America, where there's obviously the largest population of black people there, and obviously we've got, a good few million in Europe, okay, that, there's quite a bit of population of black people across the planet Earth, okay? We are a big majority. We're not a minority, we're a big majority of people, okay? The only problem that we have is that we don't have an infrastructure in place to be able to protect our people in so many different ways and in so many different forms, okay? And we're having to struggle with that every day of our lives, okay? And so we need to be thinking about our experiences and what's best for us. And again, one of the things that is best for us that we need to really, really kind of home into, every one of us, is that we need to protect our own health, because we shouldn't allow other groups of people to dictate or to follow any type of medical system or any type of form of medical program, any type of form of medical indoctrinations that's to do with our health. Because I feel that we should understand that we are our best healers. No one else can be the best healers for us. If we're going to talk about healing to that level and degree, because I think that's questionable when people talk about healing, okay? And we have to understand that, we can use these types of languages, okay? But I think the thing that we need to think about mostly is how can we provide an infrastructure system that's going to provide the type of health system that's going to give our people longevity, a long, healthy, fruitful life, okay? And we need, as a group of people collectively, need to be able to focus on that. We can do that. We've been doing it. Been doing it, okay? But it looks like, if you look at what's going on with the situation, again, we're going to be talking about, as what everyone's talking about, and we have been talking about, which is the COVID-19 pandemic situation, or whatever you want to call it, okay? Coronavirus, pandemic, or epidemic, or just a total shutdown, lockdown, or it could be different things going on, okay? We can talk about that as we go on, yeah? But we can look at that, if you want to talk about that, and why it's important for us to understand certain things around that, and how it's going to be impacting on us, and what the implications, and how does that reflect on us, and all of those different elements that is happening out there, right? So we're going to be looking at that. We're going to also looking at, if you want to talk about the relationships between what's being currently rolled out, this whole thing around the RFR 5G, radio frequency radiation, okay? And why that's important to understand what's going on there. And, if there's any correlations, connections, or relations to some of these illnesses that are happening or appear to be happening around certain countries and in the world stage. Okay. Also, again, vaccines, okay, is another hot topic. We can always talk about different elements about that. All right. So basically, it's going to be like a mixture of things that we're talking about. It's all added in, and it's all about you getting it out. I'm going to give you as much information around some of the things that's been happening recently, and basically walk you through that journey step by step, and get us to develop a certain understanding about what's actually happening, what's taking place around our black experience in 2020 at this present time that we're living in right now. And I ask so many questions, okay, that sometimes the questions are overwhelming, because you know, we're talking about hundreds of questions. That's what we're talking about. So one of the questions I was asking, and I may answer some of these questions and I may not. I'm going to leave things up to you at the same time, okay? Because I'm not going to be able to cover everything, all right? So, but I'm asking questions, and the reason why I'm asking questions myself and I'm putting it out there is to get you to exercise a certain developing way of processing information to get you to think, okay? So one of the things I was looking at is why are only Africans being forced to take COVID-19 tests in China? What's that all about? There's a lot of stuff around what's going on in China, admittedly, and we've been told that, and the world's been told that there's various ways, or there's a couple of ways, or mainly one way, that the source of how this COVID-19 coronavirus appeared, okay? Whether it's true or not, this is the narrative we've been given. We already talked about that, okay? And we can repeat those sentiments as time goes by, of around our own theories that we've already established, okay? So generally speaking, the cat is already out the bag about what's actually going on. I think a lot of people are pretty tuned in and homed in, quite aware and knowledgeable and understanding and clear about what's actually going on, because actually what's going on is a lot of different things going on all at the same time, and it's the build-up of things that have been going on prior to the actual point where it was highlighted that there was a virus coming out of China, and then weeks after that, the decision was made by the World Health Organization, the WHO, and we're going to talk about them as we go along in great depths, that the WHO decided to make the decision, the world decision, to shut down this whole system. So all countries were in coordination in doing that, okay? And we need to look at that. But one of the things that I need to go back on that I should have mentioned last week, or even the week before, just to clarify, and because sometimes I like to talk about things that I've actually seen myself, or rather I like to see things myself before I actually talk about things as best as possible, so I can validate things for myself. And yes, people were saying this, that coronavirus is a common cold, okay? There was a beautiful beloved brother that actually put this information out a couple of weeks ago or so. Just managed to get the source by accident, looking at RFR, which is radio frequency radiation, and you know the effects of what it can do, and so many different things that it goes into so many different aspects. I mean, all the technology and science can be very, very complicated. Okay, they're all very big subjects, and it takes a certain degree of studying and reading and learning and developing to understand what these sciences are. But we shouldn't be baffled by science or fooled by science. If we use common sense and logic and reasoning and work things out, collectively we can work things out. Okay, and that's what's happening. People are putting pieces together like a jigsaw puzzle, and you know, one person takes a piece and put it there, another person takes a piece and put it there, and you know, everybody's putting a piece into the puzzle to make this picture up. So we can really verify what's going on, because you know, the system is not going to tell us anything. Everything is all about top secret information, right? But it does say in the American Medical Association Encyclopedia of Medicine, 1989, coronavirus, common cold. Yeah, so basically, you gotta know that in their medical books, it's actually there. It's actually there. Is it in the English encyclopedia, medical encyclopedia? Okay, they'd be interested if we could see that. Okay, but this is the American version, and you can, like I said, you can just go and Google it if you want. The book's there. To get this information, let me just see if I can source it. I've got a YouTube video, because the person that actually done it, his name is Bam. Bam Mag. Okay, he's Jamaican, and basically I think he lives in Florida, Miami, somewhere like that. Okay, so basically, big him up still, yeah, because he's putting in work, and like I said, there's a lot of people putting in work. It doesn't matter what color, race, or read, or you know, religion, or whatever it is. You know what I'm saying? People are getting into finding ways to understand how this system works and how it operates and things like that. And I think that's important. And I think that everybody that's doing the work out there, big them up every time. The information is valuable, right? So, let me see if I can go to this video. Let me see if I can find it. So in this video, you'll be able to source information. And it's called Coronavirus and the Agenda, Part 1. Mandatory quarantine begins inside the USA Incorporation, or INC Incorporation. And the video's been put out by A Plain Truth for You. A Plain Truth for You. So it's called Coronavirus and the Agenda, Part 1. Mandatory quarantine begins inside USA Incorporation. Okay, it's about 35-minute long. Okay, if I get time, I will try and dub some of these videos. Okay, but just be patient by all means. All right. So we're looking at information. We're looking at actually what's taking place with our people, especially in China. China's been a big focus right now, and we need to understand what's the actual coronavirus. What's all this argument about? It's about this coronavirus, and really it says it's a common cold. Okay, so this article goes on to say that I summarized that what might actually be occurring in China has nothing to do with any virus at all, especially since the coronavirus has been around for decades and is listed in medical literature as nothing more than the common cold, but rather as a function of radiation-induced illness brought on by increasing density of microwave cell towers combined with the rollout of 5G. And then it shows what you call a photograph of the chart of the different viruses in this encyclopedia. Like I said, the American Medical Association Encyclopedia of Medicine, 1989. Okay, So it's got a coronavirus, common cold. It's got other viruses. It's got a long list of viruses. Herpes virus, poxy virus, picanon virus, Tugora virus, Ophiomitis virus. I can't even pronounce that. I can't even pronounce some of the names of some of these viruses, okay? But look, this one here called adenovirus has something to do with respiratory and eye. I can't see the actual word. Something to do with your eyes, okay? So basically it's there. And it gives, like I said, it gives you the symptoms on that chart, all right? So just wanted to just go there and validate that, okay? And so if anybody wants to me to repeat that, by all means, let me know and I can repeat that information, okay? All right, so I just wanted to get that one out of the way because I feel that that's important, that we clear the air around certain information. So if it is a coronavirus, then common cold, okay, then what else is going on out there then? Is something else going on out there? I'm interested to know, because if it's a common cold and it's been around for years or decades, are we being bamboozled or conned or tricked or deceived into thinking it's something else, really, what they're actually pushing out there? Maybe they're just saying it to cover up for this RFR 5G thing that's been switched on, okay? All right, so let me go back now. Like I said, I want to look at the black experience again, okay? So I want to go back. You see, the last few weeks I haven't been talking about anything to do with black or African people as a whole. I haven't been talking about anything. I've just been focusing on what everybody's focusing on. It's got nothing to do with color, right? I would imagine it's got nothing to do with race or nationality or anything like that. You know, everybody's going to be affected, right? And, you know, everybody internationally on the international stage or platforms or on the streets out there, right, in your homes, you know, under the circumstances of being shut down, and dealing with the impact of that, adjusting to that, we can see that is it for some reason, or it could be a distraction, I don't know, why black people are under attack or seem to be in the spotlight for whatever reason or the other. But do you remember recently there was information was out, or people was discussing some French doctors around what they're saying about, talking about that they want to do some testing in Africa. And, well, these two French doctors went on TV, apparently happened on the 2nd of April, right? So let's get the timeline to perspective. 2nd of April it happened, okay? That these two French doctors went on national TV and talked about, you know, this whole thing around testing for COVID-19, testing COVID-19 trials in Africa. Now, some people might say that's a coincidence, it just happened or whatever. And some people might say, no, it was all pre-planned, so it was all deliberate, right? So there's different ways to look at that. Why did those two doctors come on TV and live and say this, okay? But what did they actually say? Now, it says there, no, it's not that they're being accused of racism on TV, but, you know, they were making very, very racist suggestions. But anyway, it goes on to say, in this article I got here, it says there, during the debate on TV channel, LCI, Camille Lott, head of research at Interim Health Research Group, was talking about a trial in Europe and Australia. This is what they were saying, yeah? Jean Paul Mara, head of intensive care at Cochin Hospital in Paris then says, oh, well, if I can be provocative, shouldn't we be doing study in Africa where there are no masks, no treatment, no resuscitation? Right? Then it goes on to say, a bit like, as it's done always for some studies on AIDS. In prostitutes, we try things because we know that they are highly exposed and they do not protect themselves. Dr. Mara had earlier questioned whether the study would work as planned on healthcare workers in Europe and Australia because they had access to personal protective equipment to prevent them catching the virus. And it says there, Colton says, we are in the process of thinking about studying parallel in Africa. He said, referencing the existing trials in countries in other continents. But Insom said in a statement that the video was a subject of erroneous interpretations. Clinical trials to test the efficacy of the BCG vaccine against COVID-19 are to be launched in European countries and in Australia, it said. If there is indeed a reflection around the deployment in Africa, it would be done in parallel with these. Africa must not be forgotten or excluded from research because the pandemic is global. On Friday, Dr. Myra apologized. Dr. Myra apologized for his comments, saying in a statement released by his employer, I want to present all my apologies for those who were hurt, shocked and felt insulted by the remarks that are clumsily expressed on LCI this week. Right? So that just gives you a drop back of what that was said by these two doctors, right? So are they actually doing these trials in Africa already? Or were they just talking about doing it? Or were they in the position that they already done it? Okay? Because we need to hear from the voices, the people out there. We need to hear from their voices, their testimony, their witnesses, and we need to spread the message, okay, so people get, and most importantly, it needs to be documented, and it needs to be documented where people need to know the location, exactly where it is, okay? We need to know the locations, right? And if possible, yeah, record it, video record it, all right? Document it in some shape or form, okay? And then share that information, right? So, I mean, they were talking about, these two doctors were talking about giving BCG, right? But then at the same time, they was also talking about giving vaccines for tuberculosis, okay? So what is going on there? But in this article, where the World Health Organization, we should call it the World Health Organization. Anyway, the chief in this article says, others slam racist calls by French doctors to use Africa as COVID-19 vaccine testing ground. So basically, I think a lot of people got the message from the director. He happens to be Black African, Eritrean, and I think that he's working for them. He's from Eritrea, okay? I don't know his background or his history, okay? But I feel like, yeah, he may be a director and he may be black and all of this stuff, okay? But he's not giving the orders, right? He's definitely not giving the orders. Orders are given to him. He's been instructed as when and what to do at a given point and moment in time, okay? We don't have that kind of black leadership on the world stage telling any group of people or telling the world, in fact, what to do, okay? I feel that the leadership, and we can talk about the leadership as time goes by, is subjected to all types of authorities. Anyway, it goes on to say in this article, in the North Africa Post, and the one I read before was from the BBC, yeah? But anyway, everyone's covering this, it's all over there, all right? But we need to look at this, okay, and understand what's actually going on, taking place. And that's been going on, taking place, because people just talking about this now. This has been going on for a very, very, very long time, right? This, you know what I'm saying? People just starting to wake up to this. I'm telling you, this has been going on, and this thing has been going on, and it's not no joke thing. This is a really, really serious thing, okay? I'm going to prove my point by the end of this couple of hours, okay, what I'm talking about. All right. So basically, you heard the message coming up from the leader of the World Health Organization, whose name is, who's the Director General, Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus. Anyway, he's obviously in a position to say that it was a disgrace, appalling to hear during the 21st century to hear from scientists that kind of remark. And he's going to say, we condemn this in the strongest terms possible and we ensure that this will not happen. The 55-year-old said, adding global races on to find the cure, adding there's a global race, because what he's saying is, obviously he's queued up to what's going on. You should know he's getting all the information, right? About things to do with health, especially not just around the world, but he should be definitely specialist in what's going on in Africa, because that's where he's from, right? So he cannot deny or pretend that he doesn't know what's going on. But he's just playing a role or part. He's just doing his job, innit? Just like most people, right? So he's not going to whistleblower. He's not going to expose anything. He's going to keep his mouth shut, his ears shut, and his eyes shut. This is what's going on with a lot of this black leadership that's in certain status of position in the higher upper echelon of societies around the globe, right? So obviously he's rebuking the whole thing, or you know, as a black man as well. You know what I'm saying? And we may think that because black people are in certain position, yeah, they're going to do things for the best interest of humanity, or because he's black, the best interest of black people, black African people. No. These people are working generally for the ruling class elite to protect them and their interests over other people's interests, ordinary people's interests, common law people's interests, right? And that's how the way things are at the present moment, and it shouldn't be like that, but that's the way it is. All right? So there's a lot of talk about this whole thing to do with Africa and the vaccines and why there's so much emphasis on vaccinating people in Africa, or why there's so much emphasis on experimenting on people in Africa, right? But anyway, quite a number of people was very, very, very upset with this, most definitely. And so the World Health Organization General Director is not the holy one, right? So there's a long list of people that made a complaint. And just to give you a little highlight around that, we got, you know, obviously it caused a uproar, backlash, and all of this stuff, okay? But did anybody really make any strong statements around it? Did any leader make any strong statements that you heard? Or do you think that a leader, you know, these leaders, in wherever they are, because you remember, you got African Union that represents leaders from every country in Africa on the continent, okay? 53 or 54 countries, okay? And so you got the African Union, all right, they're representing the leadership of the continent of Africa. Every leader's right there in the African Union, right? Why are we not hearing a lot from them? Why are we not hearing strong statements from the African Union? Why are we not hearing strong statements from individual leaderships in the continent of Africa about this whole thing, this debacle? This is something that should be blowing up, yeah, like a volcano. You know what I'm saying? It shouldn't be something that should be swept under the carpet. Like, this needs to be thoroughly addressed. What are we talking about here? This is why I'm saying that we need to talk about what? How can we protect our own health? The Black African Experience 2020 going forward, right? Because a lot of people, I feel, we live in this superficial, artificial, fantasy and illusional way of life about how people want to do things to us. Let's talk about the things that they want to do to us. Not just the way they're looking at us, what they're actually doing. They're actually doing it. Right? But a lot of these things go unreported, or they're not properly addressed, not properly dealt with. So people can come in to our communities, say what they want, do what they want, and they get away with it. There's no accountability. Right? So loads of people were complaining, but it's only just now they're complaining. Right? These things have been going on for years, for decades. Right? And we need to look at the World Health Organization and what they're saying. Because a lot of people, they probably worship these types of organizations, right? But do they stack up to what they say they're saying on the label? Right? So whether people want to say these two French doctors coming on TV talking about what they're going to do to experiment trials for COVID-19 in Africa, this is nothing new, right? And they're quite open about it and relaxed about it to talk about it, because they know this is to them it's nothing. It's something they know. That's why probably they even said it, because it's what are we talking about? It goes on all the time. Everyone should know that, but you know, I don't know why people not voicing up and saying what it is. Because to me, what this whole thing is, it's ridiculous. And it's the kind of mentality that goes on, that people think that we should accept this type of behavior. This type of ill mistreatment. Right? So, the World Health Organization is in the spotlight, right? But you know, again, like I said, these two French doctors, they came out with this whole delusion of grandeur, thinking that they want to go there to Africa and do these trials for COVID-19. Everybody knows how long it's going to take to do these things, okay? To get a vaccine, so-called vaccine, okay? And we need to be very wary about these vaccines and what's in these vaccines. Ask the question, ask these people what are in these vaccines. And they're not going to say anything. So why should you impose vaccines on people? Explain to me, how can you even have the audacity to impose vaccines on people and you cannot give them the opportunity to tell them what's in these vaccines? So why should people take vaccines? Explain that. You don't need to be a doctor or some scientist and all of this stuff, okay? And have degrees on top of degrees, all right? To understand, to have common sense, to know that you have a right to know what somebody's going to put inside of you, right? It's called a lethal injection. And now they're talking about bringing out death certificates where they can pump whatever they want to pump into you so they can protect them. They're saying they want to protect people from the COVID-19. So they want to pump vaccines into you, right? And this whole system, the whole medical industry and the pharmaceutical industry, you know what I'm saying? Big governments and top-level governments, they're all talking about how they need to get people on vaccines. Like we need to be addicted to getting these vaccines. We need them. Like they save our lives. There's what you call, I don't know. They're trying to make out like these vaccines are like going to save the world, right? But they talk about all these campaigns about saving the world and saving the children and all of this stuff, okay? Remember now, this is all going on before I was born. And I was born in the 60s. They were talking about how they're going to reduce diseases, how they're going to reduce malnutrition, how they're going to reduce starvation, how they're going to reduce poverty and all of this stuff. It's ridiculous. You got the United Nations claiming to represent the whole planet Earth, right? 193 governments. You got the World Health Organization talking about, oh, we're representing the whole planet Earth, okay, and their health. And all they want to do is pump vaccines, and that's the best they can do. You've got to be having a laugh, right? Because some people must be on LSD, acid or ecstasy or something like this, yeah? Because they're delusional. But let me go back. So just look. Let's look at the timeline. So the 2nd of April, these two French doctors said the most institutionally racist, derogatory remarks, comments, right? Demonizing, dehumanizing, demoralizing, degrading. This whole COVID-19 pandemic situation. And using it as an opportunity, right? So they can pump vaccines and use black people as guinea pigs. So this was the 2nd of April. But, okay, by the by, they, came back quickly and they apologized and blah, blah. Yes, just sweep that one underneath the carpet, right? But just look at, are the World Health Organization as credible as they really make out to be? Does the director, the World Health Organization director, does he really stand up to what he's really saying? Because remember now, like I said, the cat's out of the bag. We got to question these people's credibility, right? Now, he's making out, remember the director turned around and said, oh, no, this is racist and all this stuff, okay, and no, we're not having that. What you said, what those French doctors said was wrong. And what happened to them? Did anything happen to them? No, nothing happened to those two French doctors, right? So what did he do? He's just grandstanding the whole thing, right? They're not doing anything. They're not done anything about it. They're not addressing anything. Before they even came out with that whole debacle, right, on French TV or whatever, these two French doctors, okay, talking about how they want to administrate these vaccine trials and experiment with black people in Africa, right? Look at this. I already had this information already, right? This article came out on the 3rd of April. And it says here, African nations missing from coronavirus trials. Okay? And who are we talking about here? We're talking about the World Health Organization again. It says it wants many more African nations to participate in its solidarity trials. A global study of 4 potential COVID-19 treatments. The call comes as a new international consortium of researchers urges faster action on clinical research in countries with weak health systems and offers to help coordinate the process so that researchers from Africa can more easily join. And he goes to say, of the more than 300 clinical trials that have launched to find a treatment for COVID-19, most are in China and South Korea. and more on the way in the European Union and the United States, but very few are taking place in Africa. So look, let me stop there. So they already thought about this already. It's already been pre-planned. This article came out on the 3rd of April. So this has already been discussed and debated, and it's already been arranged. Look, they said they've done studies, global studies of 4 potential COVID-19 treatments, right? And they've got a consortium, an international consortium of researchers. How long is it going to take to do all that? Right? Right, so there. All right, I'm just watching the time for the interlude in about 3 minutes. Okay, so this article says there, you can go to this article, it's African nations missing from coronavirus trials 2020, and it was written by Antonita Russi and Amy Maxman. Okay. COVID-19 testing in South Africa. The country is participating in the solidarity trial. The World Health Organization says it will support other African nations to join, right? But I want people to take the time out, take notes, okay? Some of the notes I'm talking about, take notes, all right? Also, go online if you've got time, go online and basically go on the World Health Organization's website. Go there and have a look at, and tell me if you don't see African leadership all over there. They're all in cahoot. They're in collaboration. They're coordinating. They're doing everything to support all these vaccine programs out there. They're all a part of it. The African Union, they're all a part of the agenda, right? They're supporting it. Okay? Right? So let's not be fooled that the black leadership, the African leaders, the African Union leadership are supporting the World Health Organizations and all of their vaccine programs. Right? So the idea that they don't know that if any French doctors are coming in, or German or British, all right, or Italian, wherever Europeans or Americans, Australians, Kenyans, any European group out there, right? They know they're coming in there, right? Because they already got joined up with the World Health Organization. They're already joined up with them. In fact, when I'm finished, when the interlude finishes, okay, we'll come back to that, all right? And then we're going to talk about, we look closely at the World Health Organization and what they're talking about. And you're going to see, it's going to be a pretty eye-opener for those people that haven't really seen what's really been taking place and continue to be taking place, all right? So we're going to talk about the solutions in a few seconds.
For Africans here, it's not healthy for us to stay here all winter. That's a real problem for us because we need intense sunlight all of the time. And the darker you are, the more vulnerable you are by staying in dim areas of the country and not getting adequate exposure. So I have found ever since I healed myself of cancer in '86 that I cannot stay here through the winter. I actually feel the strain and I feel the dipping into my reserves of energy. So I just go to the tropics where I was indigenously born and created to be and get sunlight.
Original. 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 Original.
Tune in to Sayshara. The voice for the voiceless on Furfurity Radio. www.furfurity.london.co.uk. Sayshara, the most topical radio presenter, coming from London, England, live every Sunday 3 till 6 p.m. Sayshara. Sayshara. Radiating, permeating, and emanating through speech and action in full gear, automatic traction, exposing the illusions, the lies, and all of the distractions. You've just entered the Sayshara Zone.
Jumbo Tips. Sayshara is back on the set once again. Alright, so let me just say this, okay? Let me say that we're here, we're talking about the Black African experience 2020, and we're talking about also Africa needs to protect their own health, and that includes the Caribbean as well. Yeah. All right, so always putting things into perspective around how we need to protect our health, right? Why is that important? And I feel like for too long we've been dependent on somebody else's system, okay, rather than depend on our own system. Build our own infrastructure. If we're going to have health, why don't we have self-independent health? Why is it not self-independent? Why are we dependent on somebody else looking after our people? That don't really make sense to me. When we're the original people on the planet, we've been doing that, done doing it, okay? And why we think, okay, because there's a history now, and we've been cut off from all of that history, that we should just not just forget about how we were as original people when we just used to look after ourselves and our natural habitats and our natural environment. All right? Remember now, the highest laws are the universal laws of nature, okay? And our ancestors, going back to antiquity, before the European invasions, understood that, they knew that, and they worked with the environment, the natural environment. They complemented with the natural environment, the way they did everything, right? And so understanding that is really important to get a real understanding of what's going on right now. Because when you have another group of people that's anti-nature, for example, or they're anti, they're all about destroying the good things in life, okay? There's this destructive order that's just there, innit? Yeah? So we got to change those kind of dynamics, right? And get away from that dependency, because to me, that definitely ain't working, all right? And people have been talking about it for some time. I ain't the only one that's been talking about this in this kind of manner, where we need to be saying, well, as far as I'm concerned, the World Health Organization needs to get out of Africa, get out of the Caribbean, get out of black people's lives, get out of black African people's lives. You are nothing but the World Health Organization to black African people. Right? Yeah? This is what's happening. Yeah? How can you tell me you allow these people? How can you tell me, how could that even make sense? And then look at the track record of where these people are coming from, what they're all about. Right? So let's look at them for a minute. Their headquarters is in Geneva, Switzerland, which is like a banking country, innit? From the days of the Knights Templars. I think that's where most of them probably ran off and stashed their money and their dough and all of this stuff, right? So they're based in Geneva, Switzerland. This is the World Health Organization. Now remember now, going back, that the World Health Organization, go on their website and just look at some of the things that's out there. Yeah, you can pick some stuff out there from it, all right? There's things in there that you need to see on their website, right? And it's there. So they're talking about, they're part of the World Health Organization, okay? Who told them to be the World Health, like the organization for the world to, you know, protect people's health and well-being and those kind of things. And it sounds really good. It does sound really good. You know, you've got one central group that's here. It's going to sort out everybody's problems when it comes to health and all of that. But is it really working? Right? But anyway, they're under the auspices of the United Nations, okay? Anything that goes on with the United Nations, right? Black people don't have a say, right? Black people don't have a say, right? Black people do not have a say, all right? So all those decisions and policies and laws and whatever regulations that they're pushing out there and dictating people how to run their lives and all of that black people ain't got nothing to do with that. They're only participating in grandstanding these meetings and getting paid. Paid, laid, and grade. That's what I normally generally say, right? They're just there, just making up numbers, shuffling a few papers, and that's it, right? Crack a few jokes, drink a cup of tea, and eat a few biscuits and cakes, and that's it, right? And getting paid for that, right? And they get really good money, these people who work for the world, for the United Nations, okay? In fact, that's part of one of the devices that's being used to keep those leaders from saying anything, because they're getting paid and they get immunity. They get immunity as well. They get all kinds of little privileges. Do you get what I'm saying? They get their job is quite it's quite a high rated job in comparison. Do you get what I'm saying? They get a lot of perks and benefits. Right? So they're going to keep their mouth shut, they're going to keep their eyes shut, and they're going to keep their ears shut. Right? See no, hear no, say no. Right? But the World Health Organization has been around since 1948 under the auspices of the United Nations. Right? Or so-called United Nations. It's just really a bunch of boys brigade just there, club, just there. And they're just pulling a few people in different countries. But the people that's running is mostly Europeans. Right? And the Americans. Right? And just look at the 5 leading councils. Just look at that. You've got United States of America, China, Russia, France, and this country called the United Kingdom and Great Britain Island. Right? But so they've been around since 1948. They've got 7,000 people working for them all over the globe in 150 countries, right? And they've got 6 regions, all right? You can all look at it. They're covering 6 regions across the globe, okay? So it's very, very well organized, all right? In fact, I remember I was looking at the World Health Organization. Sorry, no, I'm getting confused now, yeah? I was looking at the United Nations, okay? A couple years ago, and I was really digging into the United Nations and trying to find as much information as possibly can, as much dirt as I possibly can, right? And generally, when you're looking at information, look at both sides, look at good things and look at the bad things, look at the negative and the positive, look at all aspects of whatever you're looking at, because you can get information, whether it's good or bad, okay? You just got to pick sense from nonsense some of the times, okay? Just find a way to sort of you navigate yourself around the information, right? So we're looking at the United Nations. They've been around since 1945, right? And the World Health Organization is off the back of that, 1945. So what? We're talking about, 2018, 70 years, 71 years now, right? 72 years they've been around. Okay, they've been around a long time. They've been around as long as the Windrush generation has been around since the advent of World War II, okay, of migrating to this country, okay, to help clean, build, and serve this country, right? So it's around about the same time. So we can look at these two kind of comparisons. How is it the World Health Organization has grown and grown and grown and grown, and we haven't grown and grown and grown, right? So anyway, I was going back to what I was saying. I was looking at the United Nations, and I was digging up, right? And like, I saw there was a diagram. There was like a schematic diagram. I remember this diagram. It had all the departments. It had all the offices. It had all the subsidiary offices and departments. It was, it was a massive diagram, like a flowchart diagram of the infrastructure of the United Nations with all the different organizations, the IMF, the World Trade Bank, the alphabet gang, yeah, the World Health Organization, and all these different organizations, okay? And like, I wanted to actually print it out or download it or something, like a couple of days later. When I went there to look for the information, it was gone. Error 404. They deleted the information, right? So I figured that, wow, was they following me? I was wondering if they're following me, because sometimes when you chasing, I don't know if anybody's experienced this, but sometimes, things happen, you think, oh, is it mysterious? When you're using this information technology, okay, you think funny things happen, like quirky little things happen, you think, right, is that a coincidence, okay? But I feel sometimes they're following you, because how is it that they just decided to just take down certain information just like that? Yeah, like for example, just recently I had a few videos, right, that were deleted. Like 3 of them was just deleted, okay? So when I went back to remember, I was thinking, wow, what was those 3 videos? I was trying to remember what those 3 videos were, because I had a batch of videos that you can save some of these videos and you can share them and you can do all kinds of things on them, right? You can put them in favorites and blah, 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 right? And so like, I knew where these videos were. And so when I went back and I saw they were deleted, and I was thinking, wow, what was this video? And at least 2 of those videos I know for a fact were all about RFR 5G, right? So obviously, alarm bells start ringing. Wow, what's going on there? Do you know what I'm saying? Why are they trying to cover up for that? Why are they hiding? If it's not, if it's not a big thing, why are they being so extreme? Why are they taking down people's channels and videos and all of this, anything to do with RFR 5G? Why they do it? That's going against the narrative, or not even the narrative, because they're not actually putting anything out there really about 5G or RFR. All they're doing is advertising it, right? They're not even talking about it. They're not even debating it, right? So to me, it really makes no sense that it seems like there's a witch hunt around any information to do with at this present moment, to do with 5G. All right, so let me see if I can get this call. Jumbo or Tep. Yeah.
Weeks.
No,
how are you
sorry,
finding
say
it,
that
brother?
again. Say that again, because I heard you.
I'll repeat again.
Yeah.
How you doing?
Yeah, I'm
Just
not
wanted to find out how you feel about this lockdown, because as we learned this week, it's been actually extended for another 3 weeks. How are you finding it yourself?
Well, I've got some stuff to do with that, because actually, one of the things I would have talked about is actually what is people's feelings, because I think that as time goes by, people's going to be more and more frustrated. I'm all right at the moment, okay? I'm more concerned about everybody else. Do you know what I'm saying?
And you still go out and stuff for walks.
Yeah,
and
I
all
still
that,
do what I do, but obviously,
because I do that myself. But what is strange is that we're all locked in our houses. But if you look at the government website, it stated on the 19th of March 2020 that COVID-19 is no longer considered to be a highly contagious infectious disease, HCID, in the UK. So I don't know if you've actually got that same information.
Yeah, that's right.
But I advise everyone to look at look on the government website, and it actually explains, the severity of this COVID-19. So I can't understand what justifies the government shutting down the whole of the world. You know what I mean? For us to stay in our houses, when they've actually downgraded the seriousness of this disease.
Because they would assume that most people are ignorant and they're not paying no attention or they're not really interested. Plus, the government's on a secret agenda.
Yes.
Right? Don't trust your government because they're on a secret agenda.
This was downgraded on the 19th of March. So I don't understand this. I mean, I can read the whole thing. I can read some of it.
Yeah, read some
of it.
It
says,
Yeah, read some of it by all means.
Okay, I'll read some of it. I can't read all of it. It says, status of COVID-19 as of the 19th of March 2020. COVID-19 is no longer considered to be a highly consequence infectious disease, HCID, in the UK. The Four Nations Public Health HCID group made an interim recommendation in January 2020 to classify COVID-19 as an HCID, which is obviously pretty serious. This was based on consideration of the UK HCID criteria about the virus and disease, with information available during the early stage of the outbreak. Now that more is known about COVID-19, the public health body in the UK have reviewed the most up-to-date information about COVID-19 against the UK HCID criteria. They have determined that several features have now changed. In particular, more information is available about mortality rates, low overall. It says in brackets, low overall. Imagine that. And there is now greater clinical awareness and a specific and sensitive laboratory tests, the availability of which continues to increase. So this obviously is being downgraded.
Yeah.
And then, obviously you got these media outlets, BBC, Sky, still coming out with stuff, still trying to scare the public and say it's a contagious disease, anyone can get it and so forth. But yet on the government website, they've actually downgraded this whole thing.
Well, one of the questions...
So we've been fooled.
My brother.
We have been fooled.
Yeah,
we've
definitely been conned and deceived and...
We've been conned, mate.
Led and misguided. And the thing is, what maybe we should think about, because we tried to look at, I don't even watch the mainstream media news no more. I've done listen to them for the last 3 or 4 weeks now, because to me...
Yeah, it's all fear-mongering
It's all repetitive programming and indoctrinating people's minds just to follow like a bunch of sheeple, right? And they're not allowing people to think for themselves. They're not giving people the opportunity to be able to consult with the people right? Where there's some sort of equilibrium with the people.
Yeah, but I do feel that British people are willfully ignorant anyway to the truth anyway.
Well, remember now, the government recently said during the whole Windrush scandal report that just recently came out that they were institutionally ignorant. Okay, now I wouldn't say that's wrong, because I think they're totally ignorant, and they kind of thrive off their ignorancy. They use that. Do you get what I'm saying? But really, they're institutionally racist as a government, right? Or as a conservative government, right?
Yeah.
So basically, what I'm saying is that the mainstream. No, it's just my phone.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
The main thing is, let me just turn it down. The main thing is that you see the mainstream media now. Let's go and talk about them for a minute. Yeah, for a second, right? Why aren't they talking about it? Why aren't they talking about the downgrade? Why aren't they making a big fuss about
Exactly.
that?
This is what I'm trying to say. Why aren't they informing the public, of the updates that happened in 19th of March?
Because
they're still going by the narrative, it's a contagious disease, but it's not matched on the actual website. You can see a difference on the website. So why are they doing this?
Because the mainstream media are in cahoot with the medical industry. They're in cahoot, and they're collaborating, together, right, to follow a particular agenda. So in other words, they got a script to follow, right, and they got to stick to the script, right.
Okay.
So all various organisations and institutions have been given a script by their leadership,
Okay.
Right. So the most common law people, they're just getting sucked into this vacuum, isn't it? Right. Because a lot of them's getting paid, and they don't want to upset the powers that be. They don't want to lose their job. They're scared of this and they're scared of that. Right. So they're using it's intimidation. The government's using intimidation, right?
Yeah.
And threats and things like that. Yeah, on ordinary people, right?
Yeah, they are.
So that they can stick to their own. So you can't expose or you can't go against their narrative or their agenda. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, sure.
Right, which is wrong, right? And we know there's people
a lot of people are falling for it, right?
No,
majority of people are falling for it.
That's right. But there are some people that are protesting and demonstrating and campaigning and petitioning.
Well, they're not doing it here, are they? I mean, they're doing it in the US and other various countries, but they're not doing it in the UK.
There's a few little pockets.
Yes, anyway.
There is a few little pockets.
Really?
Yeah, there is. Remember that one with the tribunal, the common law court? There's a common law court, a group of people that use the common law
I'm not aware of that.
court. Yeah. They're the ones, they're the ones that they use common law. So when they see anything that goes against common law, right? They'll stand up against the government or any organization or institution or whatever. They'll definitely.
But haven't they closed all the courts? So how can you try them?
Well, this is the People's Court.
People's Court. Okay.
Yeah, the People's Court. Right.
All right. Okay.
So, but a lot of people don't know about that.
No, I didn't know about it. You need to inform. You should inform your listeners.
Well, yeah, it is. That's
so
right.
I don't know nothing about myself. You know what I'm saying?
No, but you do.
It's nice to know about it.
You do, though. Believe it or not, you do.
Well,
right?
Right?
Yeah, because you've sourced the information.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. So, for example, it's a long hour. It's emergency tribunal hearing corona pandemic, and look, if you go to that one there, yeah.
Okay.
So actually, I wanted to touch on that one there, right? Because they're talking about so the emergency tribunal hearing corona pandemic and the planetary shutdown third sitting. Okay, so so whether or not they can actually they got a lot of power, movement or whatever. Okay, obviously that's something that we got to learn around and develop and around, you know what I'm saying?
Well,
but
the majority of people are quite happy to be locked in their houses under house arrest. This is rather bizarre, but then again, it's kind of expected from the British people. As I said, they like to follow orders. They're not. I wouldn't say the British are very revolutionary in their the way they are. So for example, if you look at the social distancing that you're seeing on the street now, everyone seems to be following it. Yeah. I mean, there's 6 meters apart, right? 6 meters apart.
Yeah, they increased it, I think they said. I think they increased it.
Yeah, but, you see some people that they're like 10 meters apart. You know what I'm saying? It's like everyone's just scared of each other now. You know what I'm saying? So,
what I'm concerned about is the bullying by all these authorities. The police bullying, the medical industry bullying, like the
game, isn't it?
The nurse and the doctors, or some people are bullying, right? And
would you just go into more details in terms of bullying? In what way?
Well, for example, I've been hearing horror stories that people can't visit their family members, right? It's terrible what's happening.
Well, I know of one person, one black brother, who got arrested for taking his groceries to his mum.
Yeah, really?
I remember I've heard that story. Yeah,
wow.
It was in the news and stuff, and obviously the police had to apologise for that, but they actually arrested him.
Yeah,
it's all over social media, mate.
Yeah,
and I think it kind of made the newspaper because it got kind of blown up on social media.
Yeah,
but yeah, I mean. There's a lot of things happening, and the police, acting out of hand. But it's no surprise to me. I mean, they've been given the powers to do that by the government.
Of course.
You know what I'm saying? So, if you think about the police, they're like sheep who just follow whatever they've been told.
Yeah. I reckon
They're like robots.
but I reckon there would be one or two police that maybe, just like in any organisation, I would have said there would be a small percentage that's not having it. They wouldn't be like just going to turn a blind eye to things. If they see certain injustices, they're going to stand up for people. You know what I'm saying? And they're going to defend people. Rather than you've got some police that do abuse the powers that they got. Apparently, maybe the police got too much power now, right? And
they've given them they're allowed to do whatever they want to do now.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's now become a police state now.
Yeah.
And people actually support that. People actually support it at the moment. So we'll see what happens in another maybe 6 weeks time, because I got a feeling they're going to extend it again after the 3 weeks. Like a never-ending story type of thing. But people are starting to get fed up with it.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, because it is very restrictive.
Well, just like I said, people can't see their members or their family, and look after them and things like that.
I see them anyway. I see them anyway, and nothing's going to stop me from doing that. I think for myself. You know what I'm saying? I don't allow anyone to think for me.
Yeah.
So I don't really even believe in this coronavirus anyway. I certainly don't believe the numbers that they're talking about, people dying. That's absolute rubbish, because if you go to the hospitals, right, you see they're practically empty. So where are they dying? They're dying in their house or what? You know what I'm saying? But they're fooling somebody. But they can't fool everyone. But they don't fool me. You know what I'm saying? But everybody's in their house, so they don't question anything.
Well, I think the problem that we've got, there's a lot of issues that because people are not allowed to see their family members in care homes, hospitals, or when they're literally on the way, they're going to be looking like they're going to be passing away, for example, right?
Yeah.
Or you think that they need.
What do you mean not allowed? I mean, everyone's born with free will, innit? So at the end of the day, if they listen to the government, they're not allowed. What do you mean they're not allowed? I mean,
yeah, well, people
because they don't think for themselves, innit?
No,
so obviously they're gonna.
Well, I mean,
go by
what
the
people are
government tells
doing,
them.
they're just following the government's instructions, right?
Yeah, because
guidelines.
But they're not looking at the information that I've just read out regarding it's no longer classed as an infectious disease.
Yeah.
So, I mean, these are things that they should be looking at and then questioning the government and say, well, why are we locked in our houses? Why are we basically, in serious financial issues? Because that's what's happening as well. You know what I mean? When it's not even as serious as what they say it is.
Yeah.
I'm saying, brother.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's down to the World Health Organization, right? They're the ones, what called the World Health Organization. They're the ones that actually have the authority to shut down the whole system, apparently.
Yeah.
Right?
Really?
And
I know.
everybody's signed up to that and they've agreed to it. Right?
Yeah.
And,
who funds the work? Who funds it though? It's obviously Bill Gates.
Fund who?
Well, he runs the world. I mean, you could say because he's funding it.
Well, there's quite a few people that fund the World Health Organization.
But I'm saying
what I would say is that, look, right, the World Health Organizations, they're suspect. The CDC, they're suspect, and the Bill or what the Hell Gates Foundation, right? They're
I call him Kill Bill.
Right.
That's what I call him, Kill Bill.
So they're all suspects. They're all suspect. Yeah. And then there's others like pharmaceutical companies like Johnson & Johnson, right? And all these pharmaceutical
Bill Gates. Sorry to interrupt. Bill Gates said the other day that things are not going to get back to normal until the vaccines.
Well, look at it this way.
So everybody gets vaccines. 7 billion people get vaccines.
Yeah.
Really?
So
Really, Bill?
Yeah. So Bill Gates, right? He doesn't speak for the rest of the world, right? He speaks for Bill Gates. This is what people need to know, right? And just because he's involved in vaccines and he's a philanthropist and he's throwing money there, here, and everywhere and all of this stuff, right? Yeah. You asked the question: is he part of the eugenics program? Is he part of
course he
advocating a eugenics program? Right?
Yeah, of course he is.
Right.
Of course he is.
That's what we need to be looking at.
Of course he is.
Right?
No, he's obviously part of the eugenics program. Obviously, he's just one player. Yeah, he's one. Well, he's probably a major player. You know, in the agenda of population control. You know, which I've always talked about. You know, there's too many people on the planet. You need to reduce it. You know, from 7 billion to 500 million.
So he can say what he wants.
That's
Yeah?
quite unbelievable.
Because to me,
task,
some people, right? They get to a certain level and they get delusional about how they want to push certain agendas.
I would take him very seriously. These are very, very dangerous people, brother.
Yeah, but
you know what I'm saying? You can't take him lightly and say he's delusional. I mean, he's not delusional, man. He perfectly knows what he's doing.
No, a madman is a madman is a madman.
He's a madman, yeah. He's
right?
an absolute madman.
So what I'm saying is mad people have grandeur delusions of all kinds of fantasies. Do you know what I'm saying?
It's not a fantasy because, okay, all right, you say it's a fantasy, but the thing is, I mean, they're actually, I mean, even if in the papers they actually mention about
I'm not taking away from the fact that these people, they fantasize, they want to carry out their fantasies. I'm not saying that.
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right? But what I'm saying is there's people that wherever their minds are at, where their minds are at or whatever, okay? That's what I'm saying, yeah? They're not with the planet Earth. It's not rally. Do you get what I'm saying? Yeah? So people gonna think all kinds people this is what I'm saying to you. People get to a certain level, okay? Yeah? And then they want to push their own agenda because they can do it. They can do it because they got the money to do it. Yeah. So you know, I could be some crazy. Let's say I got mad money. Okay, and I go. You know what happens is a lot of people they get all this money and they run out of things to do. So they're trying to find things to do. So they create things to do. Do you get what I'm saying?
No, well, I wouldn't look at Bill Gates as like that. To be honest with you, I look at Bill Gates as part of the evil system. You know, I mean, he's just one of the individuals that's willing to.
He's a major individual, right?
Well,
because
I'm sure I'm sure there's bigger players than him. To be honest with you,
well, he's one of the richest fellas out there, and whether they want to use him because he's got money,
we know about,
because he's got technology,
that we know about.
Now, there's different reasons why he's being used, right?
Okay.
But it's more likely to do with his pedigree more than anything else. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, his bloodline or where his roots.
Yeah, it's a bloodline. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. All the other things is you know, people have helped him to get him to where he is now. You know what I'm saying? And basically, the people that's helped him. He's paying them. He's probably paying them back. We don't know, right?
Yeah. What I'm pretty worried about is the developments I've been hearing about what's going on in Africa.
Exactly.
Regarding forced vaccines, certain villages and stuff of Africa.
Right.
I heard they've actually rolled out the vaccines in certain areas. So I'm still doing my research in that, so I can't be discussed about that right now.
Right. So let's look at you see what you're saying. I'm going to touch on that, yeah. But
have you got information on it?
Yeah, I've got lots of stuff with it. But what I'm saying is this, yeah.
Right.
Like, there's a correlation because what I want us to talk about is what's going on in China, what's going on in America, what's going on in Africa, and what's going on even here in the UK, Great Britain, Ireland. Yeah.
Okay.
So
I know. Basically, our African brothers and sisters are being ill-treated in China.
Right.
At the moment.
Yeah.
And I know that the American, the African governments are starting to actually turn against the Chinese in Africa, right? Actually expelling them, some of their diplomats and stuff. But I've been hearing that basically there's 10 million Chinese in Africa. I don't know how the hell 10 million were allowed to actually go to Africa in the first place. You know, that's down to the leaders, taking money.
Yeah. Well, China's been in and out of Africa for quite a while now. But
I know, but
the reason why there's so much people there is because of the leadership there, right? And I've always my thinking is this, right?
It's nothing new though, is it?
Yeah, my
Nothing
thinking
new.
is this, that Africa does not need anybody to come into the country to build up their country. Right?
I know, exactly.
What they need is maybe the expertise, right?
Yeah.
Or that's all they need. They just need the expertise around certain technologies and science and things like that. Yeah, but we don't.
Do they really even need that? I don't think they need that. They've got everything there. They don't need no outside forces.
Yeah,
they can create their own.
Yeah, but what I'm saying
technology.
is, if they want to,
you know what I'm saying?
They can just have a few people like that. Yeah, if they want.
Yeah.
So, but as long as they're in control, just what I'm saying. I'm not saying that they can't have. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. There's other people that can get involved in the sciences and the technology, but it's under the BS of the Africans themselves, right? They're in control.
Okay.
We're talking about, because what's the problem with Africa and the Caribbean and black people as a whole is that we've been dictated to and dominated to, right? And following everybody else's agenda, but we don't have our own agenda, right? So we feed into everybody else's agenda, but we don't have our own agenda. That don't make no sense. Do you get what I'm saying? Right? And the leaders in the Caribbean and Africa, right? They're basically suffocating and in a way that they're being strangled, right? They can't do anything.
You mean they're holding back the progress of the country?
Yeah, that's right. Right? That type of leadership that we got, it's not working. It's not going to work, and it's never going to work.
No, it's not.
Right?
No, because
they're using the same system.
They're in bed with the Europeans.
That's right. They're using the same system, which is a system of oppression. Right? So that's not going to work for us. Yeah? We have to be able to have a system based on justice and all these good things. We're not talking about corruption there. This whole level of corruption.
When is that going to happen?
Well,
when is that going to happen?
Who knows when it's going to happen? I don't know the answer there. You know what I mean? Because
you know what I mean? Because it needs to happen.
For things
for that to
happen,
otherwise, things are going to get worse.
Right. For that to happen, you got to go through some sort of transition.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
I know,
and some serious transition.
Every transition's always a bloody transition. That's the thing.
Well,
you know what I'm saying?
If that's the case, that'd be the case. I mean, it's not the only way to go about things, but I'm saying if that's be the case, that'd be the case.
That's the only way we're going to be free, my friend.
I'm not advocating that it's all about killing and murdering, right?
But that's the only way they know. So sometimes
it's not work for them.
If you want to be free of these people, you're going to have to get rid of them somehow, some way.
So basically, the trials I was talking about, the trials
protesting against these people ain't gonna work, right?
So basically, going back to the trials, okay, I was talking about these trials, okay, because I'm trying to make a connection between what's going on with these vaccine trials in Africa that's been proposed, okay, and it's actually happening, right? It is happening there, right? Now, and then what's happening in China, where obviously Africans in China, living in China, and working in China and doing business or whatever and stuff like that, they're being victimized, abused and harassed and intimidated, and basically all their rights. In fact, our rights have been stripped so much now, right? So now you see what's happening there, right?
Yeah.
And you think, well, why is black people being targeted, right? So the other thing is that why I'm trying to correlate this whole thing to do with the Black African experience and why Africa needs to protect their own health, right? Right? Because it ties in with the vaccines, right? It ties in with the World Health Organization, right? It ties in with the pharmaceutical industry. It ties in with the medical industry, right? So why can't we have our own industries?
Well,
so we can protect
should
our
have
own
that-
health.
should have that long
'Cause
time-
look,
should have
let me
long
explain
time
something
ago.
to you. Yeah, the Americans made a big fuss, right? It's funny, right, that when this whole thing happened, yeah, in China with our brothers and sisters, from Africa, yeah, being abused and ill-treated and mistreated and all this stuff, okay, right? It's been going on for years, right? It happens in our own continent, right there. It happens in Africa, right there, right? Now, you notice that the leaders, the black leaders in Africa, the African Union leaders haven't said nothing. It's the ambassadors or representatives of the
Well, we
ambassadors
all
have
know
been
why.
saying anything.
We all know why they
right?
haven't said anything.
So
right?
what
They've
I'm
been bought and paid for.
So
that's why.
Look at the leadership. Look at, just say for instance, if that happened with America, let's say Donald Trump, right? Donald Trump would be tweeting away like mad, right? We're gonna do this, we're gonna do that, and we're gonna cut. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna sanction you, and we're gonna do this. There's no action coming out of Africa, none.
Yeah, but you're not
It's
surprised, are
deplorable.
you?
It's deplorable, right? And it just shows you where we're at as a group of people. Yeah,
Yeah.
that we can just
Yeah,
take
we're weak.
abuse. We're just going to take abuse, right? People are supposed to just take it, and nothing's going to be done about it. And you notice none of the leaders from none of these Commonwealth, the United Nations, none of them stand up and said anything about it.
Silent as a lamb.
Right.
Silent.
Yeah, but we're supposed to defend them, and all of that stuff. You know what I mean? Do you get me? Yeah. So.
Yeah, but what about the people? The people need to start uprising, innit? They need to start
Bro,
uprising.
it just goes to
otherwise
show
things are
where
not
we
gonna
at,
change.
bro. We're saying
You
the
can't
people.
rely. You can't rely on these governments, man.
Yeah, no, but
You know
we
what
say
I'm
the
saying?
people,
It's down to
right?
the people.
Look what's happening in front of the people's eyes, right underneath the noses, bro. Do you get what I'm saying? Yeah, it's been going on for years. In Africa, right, the Chinese have been abusing black people all day long. There's so many stories I could go through. What are you talking about? They go in there, the Chinese are they're supremacists as well. They're no different from the Europeans, they're supremacists. Right? And
Yeah, of course they are.
the Chinese,
Same mentality.
and one thing we've got to be clear on as well as black people, yeah, that there's a difference between the CCP, which is the Chinese Communist Party, and the Chinese people. There's a difference, right? Because some people don't recognize, they don't identify with the CCP, they don't, right? In their own country, right? And if you look at, I don't understand how Africa as a relationship, the African leaders can have a cordial relationship with the type of leadership in China. When you look at how China look at what China does to their own people.
They don't care about their own people.
Right? And it goes the same. It's the same synonymous across the globe. All these leaders don't care about their own people. Poor people,
Well,
they don't care about poor people.
It's all about population control and reducing population. All of these countries are working together.
Yeah,
Okay?
on the top level though. On the top level.
Well, whatever level you want to say. Man.
Yeah, on the top level, because the people,
they're
like
still
I said,
working, they're still working to an agenda.
the sheeple,
and the agenda is population control.
if the sheeple was queued up, if they were queued up, okay, right, and they knew things. You see the elites, they're not stupid, they're clever. What they do, for example, they'll bring out a law, right? A law to protect secrets. 75 years. Remember now, before it was 25 years, right? It was 25 years. Now, who cares about secrets, really? Ordinary people don't care about secrets. 25 years, that's all right. But 75 years, right? So why do they do that? That is to protect the elite information so the public don't get until they're dead. Do you see what I'm saying? They calculated it, right? So what I'm saying is the elites, they put up their own defenses and bring in laws and policies and all these kind of things, regulations to protect themselves, right? And then they take the rights that's been fought for through blood, sweat and tears and people have died for, okay? They strip those rights away. And that's what's been going on. And so a lot of people just have been accepting it. Yeah?
That's true.
Right?
That's true.
Because the elites, what they do is, everything they're doing is overwhelming. It's overwhelming for ordinary people to deal with.
Yeah, of course. It's going to get worse too.
Right? Unless they're very, very organized. Right? But, I mean, going back to asking the question about this whole thing to do with there's another correlation, right, where people are talking about there's a disproportionality around black people dying because of with the COVID-19 or because of the COVID-19.
If you go back a month ago, they were saying that black people weren't dying for it, and they wondered why black people weren't dying for it. And all of a sudden now, they've changed it to black people are more susceptible of getting the disease and dying from it.
You know what
I'm saying? We all know it's not. We both know it's not true. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
we both know it's not true. And
this is what's going around. You see?
Yeah, I know that's what's going around. But obviously, we will get to a stage when they'll say that, oh yeah, black people are carrying the COVID-19, so we need to test them, and maybe give them vaccines, you know what I mean? Because they're the ones carrying it. So they'll turn it on us. You know what I'm saying? You've got to be careful with this media, because they'll probably do that in the end. That's what they did in China, I heard, yeah? They're saying that, imagine it came out of China, yeah? Chinese people were the ones that had coronavirus, and then all of a sudden they turned on the Africans that were living there and saying that they got the corona, they're the ones carrying coronavirus. So, you know what I mean? So, they always pick on black people in the end, innit? We're always, but the thing about it is, bro, we're so weak, you know what I mean? And we're not together as a people. They can do what hell they want to us, and we're not going to, we're not going to react to it, you know what I mean? We ain't got no power. So, I'm not really surprised, bro. But I don't know. Do you believe that? Do you believe black people are more susceptible?
No, well,
to
what I want to do, the thing is,
I don't believe that at all.
The thing is, yeah, I'm just picking up what people are saying, right? I know what's going on.
The media. That's not what people say. That's what the media's saying. That's what they're banging out.
Yeah. So
I've noticed now, if you look at the, sorry, brother.
No.
When you look at the news, the papers now, okay, they've got a lot of black people on the front cover. And they're saying that they're dying of COVID-19 all of a sudden. You know what I'm saying? And then they're saying that 80% of black people, imagine large numbers of that are more susceptible to getting COVID-19 and dying from it. I mean, what the fuck? Sorry, what the, I shouldn't swear.
Well, but, listen, you said there's, it's out there, it's in the newspapers today, yeah? Is it front page? Is it front page newspaper? Is it on the front page? Well, anyway, it doesn't matter. No, what I'm saying is that you're saying that black people are in the front, in the newspapers, and there's a big...
Yeah, there was one lady that died in the week, okay? Basically, I think she had some kind of operation, and then basically she said that she caught COVID-19. I think she was only 28 years old.
Wow.
But they're trying to say that, black people are more susceptible to it. And then I've seen quite a few, news stories of black people dying from it, you know what I mean? Yeah. So, I don't know what to believe, but I just don't believe that
it could be propaganda, right? Remember now, the Chinese, because remember, look, the reason why I'm highlighting, these are three different things going on there, right?
Yeah.
Right? The French doctors, remember now, let's go back. The two French doctors, boom, coming out with this stuff around, going to Africa to experiment with these vaccine trials and whatever. All right?
Yeah.
Whatever they're going to say, they already said it, they're going to go there, right? They're already there.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
They've already
Second thing is,
that,
China now, remember now, China's been the one that's causing the problems.
Exactly.
With this virus. There, it's coming from China. It's there, right? Now they've turned it around now. Whether it's a distraction or what, they're kicking out black people, taking away their passports, kicking them out of the hotel, quarantined them, giving them COVID-19 tests, saying that they got COVID-19. They're the one that's spreading the virus, right? And now the Americans, the United States of America, have took this propaganda now, and they're saying the same thing about black people in America.
Remember, we're easy picking, brother.
So, are they going to say the same thing here then, Macron? Are they saying that black people,
brother?
Are they saying black people are the ones that's got COVID-19 in this country? Are they saying that?
That's what they're trying to say.
Well,
yeah,
if the newspapers, if the media,
I mean, how many black people are in the UK? We're small in number anyway.
right?
So,
But what are they?
We can't be in those numbers.
They're either suggesting something, they're making assumptions, or they're luring or alluding to something. What are they alluding to? Because I've got an article here. Let me actually. I'm actually jumping over some steps, just to bring this information,
No problem.
Because there's going to be an inquiry, right? There is going to be an inquiry announced into disproportionate impact of coronavirus on BAME communities, right? So
you see that now.
So what I'm saying is, that's one thing, all right. Also, there's I've got these articles here. It says, why are so many black and ethnic minority people dying from coronavirus?
See the angle they're coming with now. See the angle they're coming with.
Then hold on. Listen to this one now. Coronavirus cases to be tracked by ethnicity. Right? 18th of April. Go there. The BBC. Right there. Right? Coronavirus cases to be tracked by ethnicity. Right?
Look at that.
So they've, you see what I'm saying? So this is what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
So
black people need to wake up, man.
Are they?
They're after us.
Are they suggesting
that brother?
They're pointing the fingers, are directly saying that we got coronavirus, right?
Come on.
Are they saying that? Because remember now, it started off in China. China's saying that these are the people in China.
Nothing to do with us.
I don't know the propaganda in China. Maybe it's the Chinese Communist Party that's pushing this propaganda, right? It's gone over to the United States of America, right? And those American people now are looking down at black people, saying that black people, even being told, I've got a video. Listen, man, they've been given they've been treated like leopards now.
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying? Yeah.
Very dangerous.
Right.
Very dangerous.
So to me, they're building up to something. Why they're trying to rationalize or justify?
It's like they want to take us out first, isn't it? They want to take us out.
Right. They want to rationalize and justify giving people these vaccines.
These vaccines, exactly. Yeah.
Right. Because why else would they be doing that? Why are they highlighting everything on black people? Black people ain't got nothing to do with it. Black people ain't doing nothing to the system.
But remember, we're the weakest at the moment in terms of, we don't stand up for each other. We're not together and so forth, right, as a group of people. Right, so they just feel like they can just do whatever they want to us.
Well, no,
it's
not feel.
So we need to wake
it.
up and see. Yeah, but they're doing it already. But we need to come together, man. We need to try and combat this because it's very, very serious. It's a threat to our race. You know what I'm saying? So you don't know what they're planning. You don't know if they're going to be mandatory bringing in these vaccines to cull us. Yeah. So because I don't think other races would mind if we were out of the way, to be honest with you, bro.
Well,
you know what I'm saying?
Well, we already know, right? The evidence is mine. We already know that since this China situation where they're treating our people like dogs, like animals, right?
Yeah, it's disgraceful.
That no other country, nobody said anything, right? And in fact, even our own people, even our own leaders, can you imagine not even our own leaders?
Yeah, but we know the leaders are bought and paid for, man. We know that. You know they're bought and paid for.
Even though, right? When I say leaders, I'm not talking about the ambassadors.
They're not even leaders, man.
These ambassadors.
I don't even call them leaders. I call them servants.
They're gatekeepers. They're gatekeepers, isn't it, for the West?
Yeah, gatekeepers, man. They're not even leaders, bro. You can't even call them leaders, man. They sell our people out, man. You know what I'm saying? They don't care about our people, man. They just don't care about our people. I mean, look what's happening in China, right? Okay, for a long time, a lot of those leaders weren't saying nothing about the abuse that was coming from the Chinese.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, it's just a disgrace, mate. The whole thing.
Did you know also that?
I'm very worried for my people.
Did you know that instead of them worried about where this whole thing comes from or where, instead of them investigating, tracking down the source, right, of how this virus broke out or what is the cause of it or anything like that, they're busy playing silly little games, right, psychological games, right?
Yeah, I know.
Propaganda, psychological war is going on there.
I know, brother.
Right?
I
And
know.
it's like it's people's lives are involved in all of this stuff. Okay, people
Yeah,
are dying
very
every
worried,
day.
very worried.
People are dying every day, right? Because they're not able to get access to food, water, and all of this stuff in poor countries. Do you get what I'm saying? Like we're here, we're reasonably comfortable to a certain degree. Do you know what I'm saying? There's a few necessities that we want, blah blah. We're gonna have to do without. But there's people out there.
I do think things are going to change, though.
No, it's going to get worse, right? So
years,
people
it's
out
gonna
there,
get worse,
it's worse already, right? There's people out there, they don't have access to food, right? And clean water and vital essential services, right? Especially in poor developing countries, right? Or them lesser developing countries, right?
Yeah.
Yes, I'm saying, yeah. And if you look at even, you know, what's going on with Africa and, you know, and stuff like that, right, with the outbreak and so, and according to their statistics or their figures and all that, it's, I mean, it's not that detrimental, you know, that you're going to cut off people's lifeline because you made a call that you want to shut down because in Western countries, they got a problem, right? And they don't want to identify this problem with what's really going on, right? But they want to shut other countries down for their problem, right? It's their problem. Why does other people have to suffer for their own problems, right? It's a Chinese problem. They're responsible. Hold them accountable.
You're saying it's a Chinese problem, yeah, but when you really think about it, okay, this has been obviously being told a long time ago that this is going to happen, and it's all in the movies. If you look at Contagion and all these movies, you know, they actually give you kind of pointers of what they were planning regarding this pandemic. I call it pandemic, you know what I'm saying? So even though it came out of China, it's still a world. It's a world.
It's a man-made disaster.
Man-made disaster,
Well, I don't
exactly. So
yeah, it's a man-made disaster.
Together. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, and it's got nothing to do with black people.
Yeah, but it did come out of China, yes,
right?
exactly.
So
But
between the China, you see all these people all these people that deal with biological weapons and, you know, geoengineering weapons. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to shake out. Though.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to,
right.
So,
they're the ones responsible.
Yeah.
But I want to say thanks anyway for the time and
yeah,
energy.
man, respect, brother. You know what I mean? Just keep it up. You know what I mean? Just keep coming up with the news, the information and stuff. And, you know, I'm here to support you and stuff and support Prosperity. You know, Prosperity is a great radio station. You know, big up to all of the presenters and that, yeah?
Yeah.
On the station, yeah? All right, bro. Respect and yeah?
Yeah, Jumbo. Much appreciated. Thanks for your time.
Jumbo.
Enjoy the rest of the
Jumbo. Yeah, man. Thank you, brother.
100. Okay. Sayshara, looking at the time. All right, so look, I've got a few seconds and we're going to go into the interlude. And we're going to come back and I've probably got some strong things to say once again. And again, I'll be interested to hear from your views and anybody's views around what anybody's saying. So, thank you. See you in a few seconds, all right?
For Africans here, it's not healthy for us to stay here all winter. That's a real problem for us because we need intense sunlight all of the time. And the darker you are, the more vulnerable you are by staying in dim areas of the country and not getting adequate exposure. So I have found ever since I healed myself of cancer in '86 that I cannot stay here through the winter. I actually feel the strain and I feel the dipping into my reserves of energy. So I just go to the tropics where I was indigenously born and created to be and get sunlight.
Original. 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 Original.
Yeah, Jumbo Tech Peace Salama. This is for Ferrity Radio. My name is Sayshara. This is your Sunday interactive talk show. Telephone numbers are 0730 541 7668. I repeat, 0730 541 7668. All right, so I'm here talking about the black experience. And again, Africa, protect your own health. Again, we know the cat's out the bag. We know exactly what's going on. Again, we know also that they're saying that there's 100 companies, at least 100 companies working on the vaccine COVID-19, okay? Coronavirus, right? And in this whole thing is to do with a lot of different elements, so many different things, okay? And I'm asking the question, why are only Africans being forced to take COVID-19 tests in China, right? And then also, how long have the World Health Organization practicing vaccination programs, immunization, inoculations, sensitizing, sterilizations, trials, testing, eugenics, medical apartheid, Planned Parenthood, and all manners of experiments, okay? So what we're talking about is the black African experience, right? And one of the things that we need to also look at and consider in all of this, all right? Because there is some sort of correlation. Possibly there's a good evidence, Martin, that there is good evidence to correlate this rollout or certain companies switching on 5G RFR, right? So what I'm interested in, one of the things I'm asking is that I'm looking at I'm saying, I need to look at the 5G infrastructure. What does that look like? Because I'm into engineering, right? So I like doing the practical things to do with engineering. And, I understand some basic fundamentals around engineering and principles and things like that, okay? All right. So I'm thinking to myself, well, what does this infrastructure really look like, okay? And who's involved and all of this stuff, okay? And then I'm thinking that the Chinese government, they've got at least, in their country, they've got at least 3 operators. They've got 3 companies that can build the 5G infrastructure, but the main one is Huawei, right? The other companies that are competing with Huawei are Ericsson, Nokia, and those 2 are the main ones, but there are others like Samsung, there's Altiostar, Cisco Systems, Qualcomm, and Daytong Telecom Fibercom, all right? So I was thinking to myself, well, where are the Chinese government, the CCP, getting their resources to build 5G infrastructure? That's A. And B, where are the Chinese government getting their resources to maintain and sustain the 5G infrastructure? Right? And if I remembered, if we all recollect, and we can go back in time, that they get a lot of resources out of the continent of Africa. There's so much abundance of resources coming out of there. We don't know how much is coming out of Africa and helping to build the infrastructure of these 5G systems, right? So then we have to look at that Africa has been exploited to the nth degree by all different countries, okay? China's been doing the same, throwing money at Africans, governments and leaders, and various organizations, institutions, wherever they want. They just throw money out there, yeah? And yeah, obviously everybody needs money, right? But the problem becomes you become dependent on these people giving you money. Like a lot of these countries in Africa, they're in billions and billions and billions in debts, right? To various loan sharks, you could say, to various loan companies, right? Whether there's other banks other than the IMF and the World Trade Bank. The Chinese got their own bank, right? There's so many different banks out there that's actually loaned African leaders and Caribbean leaders billions and billions and billions of dollars, yen or pounds, right? Wherever the currency is. And you've got this kind of really a one-sided relationship, really, where if it wasn't for Africa, do you think that China, they haven't got no resources? They ain't got no resources. What resources have China got, right? If it wasn't for Africa, they couldn't build these 5G infrastructures. What are you talking about? They wouldn't have the money. They're getting their money and their wealth from exploiting the continent of Africa. And they're allowed to do that, right? Because America is in $1 trillion to China. How much does America owe China? Everybody owes China. You ask people, what does China own in America? What are you talking about? What was really funny and odd is that there's a trade war between China and the USA, and it's been like that for some months now, right? But both of these groups have been sucking out of Africa and exploiting Africa, right? Practically raping the resources because we've got poor, bad, weak leadership. And yeah, Donald Trump said the other day, what did he say? He said, we're going to defund the World Health Organization. Why is he defunding them? Because he's saying that they're incompetent, right? Because they took too slow to respond. They should have responded a lot sooner. And really, in a way, Donald Trump's right. Because if you look at the World Health Organization's record, right, they cover a lot of epidemics. They've been covering epidemics. I've got a list of epidemics they've been covering from going back to 2000, right? Okay, and it's a long list of different viruses, diseases, whatever. Okay, in different areas, mainly in poor countries, right? So, everyone's looking at the World Health Organization, right? And they're getting a lot of flack right now. But now, another point that we need to raise, and we've been talking about that recently, is that the Chinese propaganda that blames Black African people for the coronavirus COVID-19 pandemic situation, right? Or is that just some hypocrisy, or is that just a distraction, right? Or is it just institutional racist? That's just a supremacy right there. There's just Chinese supremacy going on right there. Because now you see the Anglo-Americans using the same propaganda against Black African people in the US, right? So what does this really suggest? What are they blaming Black African people for? Are they blaming them for the COVID-19 coronavirus, or the response of the whole pandemic shutdown, lockdown, isolation, quarantine situation? Are we to be blamed for that? Because it looks like we're blamed for every little thing that's been happening. So now Black African people across the globe have to look at this world situation psychologically, intelligently, and constructively, right? Because you see what's beginning to develop here is a pretty obvious pattern of behavior that is consistent with historical fact, that is rooted in hatred, supremacy, classism, and institutional racism. So psychologically, we have to look at the language, right? And that ordinary common people are actually feeling that there. Okay, so I think a couple of weeks ago, I put it to people like, you know, what kind of language would you use to, you know, what would be most kind of language that you use to give you a kind of idea, what are the sentiments of the people? What are they thinking about, right? So I said, yeah, just look at this, right? And we touched on some of the words and languages, right? So we got a lot of, it looks like there's a bit of hate forming up, a bit of blame, attention, seeking attitude going on, a form of diversion, a form of divisiveness, a form of distraction, pointing fingers at some group, the black African group, to suggest that we're to blame, right? But you see all these different characteristics of the behavior that I'm talking about, right, that seem to be popping up. These are just some of the ingredients that's being put in a pot by the ruling class elite, who have the empowering influence to affect people's lives to simmer, to boil, right? So psychologically, how are people feeling about this whole shutdown, lockdown, martial law situation? They took in all your rights, everything your ancestors fought for, your grandparents, your parents, your grandparents, your great-grandparents and so on, have fought for, died for, through blood, sweat and swears, people have fought for the rights to keep, to give you rights, right? And, you have a right, as a common law person, you have a right, okay? You have certain rights. Well, that's really how it's supposed to be, but it's not. You see, because really the ruling class are running the show. Really, we're just spectators, just waiting to be instructed and given commands, and people have been instructed to be told what to do because most people are indoctrinated into the programming sequence, which is part of the brainwashing condition through your television and certain radio programs. So how do people feel in a crisis, shutdown, lockdown situation, which is what? Mixed feelings. Mixed thoughts equals mixed actions. It's going to cause reactions, right? So what I'm saying is that you're just seeing, it's like you're seeing what really people are. You're seeing the true color of what people really are when they're in a desperate situation, right? You just watch as the weeks go by, and maybe months, and keep on asking the question, how are people feeling? Because the pressure's beginning to wane, for a start. The anxiety, the frustration, the uncertainty, the feeling of emptiness, the fear and desperation. There's a state of apprehension. There's the physical, psychological and mental effects. There's the distress, the uneasiness, the uncomfortability, the dependency on your local authority not able to give you necessary support or access to vital services, food and essentials. Not to forget the loneliness, the hysteria, also you see the pandemonium and the way people just panicking and they become paranoid. Right. All right, so we have to look at, as you know, the many weeks have been, you know, the situation and how people have been affected by it. Because how many more weeks and months of this can people actually take before their blood actually boils into hatred? You know, how much people are going to take before there's disorder, there's chaos? It may be even anarchy, right? So we have to be very, very careful and mindful of the hate propaganda that's going to be rising more and more as time goes by. Yeah? Right, so again, let me just make sure you understand that similar things are going on in relation to black African people. It's all interconnected, it's all interrelated, and it's all relative, okay? The vaccine trials and experiments and, you know, the threat or the actual aspect that it's actually happening already. They're actually doing trials already, okay? You know, in China, black people, they've been treated so badly. Let me see if I can go to this article. There's two articles I've got to really give you, yeah? So you get an understanding, a perspective of what it is, right? So let's look at viral racist treatment on Africans in China sparks Twitter outrage, okay? April the 17th, new outrage as new Chinese racist video trends. As China continues diplomatic efforts to quell a recent surge in protests by African governments and the African Union. There is no round of outrage on social media after a new visibly racist video was posted on Twitter on Friday. The 38-second video has since gone viral on the social media platform. It shows Chinese officials masked and with temperature guns blocking a black woman from entering a mall. The video actually posted on TikTok by a user called @Claude405 had a series of captions amongst which were, quote, "This is the treatment black people get in China now. They were not allowed to get inside of the shopping mall," unquote. As the blacks had stopped from entering a white As the blacks are stopped from entering a white shopper, it's just the way the person's writing it. Sorry. You know what I'm saying? I'm sorry. Sometimes the writing is it's all right, but you know, sometimes they make a few little mistakes. So as black peoples are stopped, this is me adding things in, right? From entering a white shopping mall, a white shopper walks past the security, okay? So basically, the picture is that there's a shopping mall, black people are being stopped, white people are just going through, right? The security are stopping black people, but they're not stopping white people. This is what this is saying by witnesses that have been stopped by security guards going into the shopping mall in some place in China. We'll get to that. As the blacks are stopped from entering, a white shopper walks past the security. Another white shopper tries to intervene but fails. The Chinese government says black people are not welcome because the cause of the coronavirus, another caption read, and it says the location and date of the video is not really known, but the video feeds into the recent outrage in southern China's Guangzhou, where I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. It's spelled Guangzhou. Anyway, it says the southern China's Guangzhou, where Africans were reportedly forcibly evicted and in some cases quarantined and tested for COVID-19. Meanwhile, opposition voices in the Southern Africa region have written to South African President Cyril Ramaphosa, who doubles as chairperson of the African Union, to call for an investigation into mistreatment of Africans in China. Unquote. As Africans, we are appalled by the reports of poor treatment of African nationals who are residing in China. We call for all Africans to be treated with dignity and as equal to all other residents of China. The statement signed by 5 regional opposition leaders stated the Chinese Foreign Ministry in a statement earlier this week said it acknowledged the concerns of African countries and stressed that the reported cases will be probed by authorities in the Guangdong province. Beijing also stressed historical ties between the two parties and vowed to do all it takes to maintain, bolster and consolidate them despite the current rift. It also said the government has a zero tolerance towards discrimination and create all persons equal. Now I've got this video here. Let me see if I can play this video. Let me see. Okay. See if we can get to that. Hold on there. Wow, it's really low, isn't it? Yeah, well, I can hear it, but it's just so low. Hold on. Anyway, it says Chinese government says black people are not welcome because they are the cause of the coronavirus. This is what this short video for 30 seconds is saying, right? So it goes on to say this is the treatment of how black people, they were not allowed to get inside of the shopping centre. Yeah, so it says this is the treatment that black people get in China now. Right? And you can see the 2 security guys. They were all wearing masks. Everyone's wearing masks out there. Right? And when I say masks, you know them mouth masks. Chinese government says black people are not welcome because the cause of the coronavirus. All right. So they're directly saying that they're not playing mincing words, you know. I'm saying they're saying that black people are the cause of the virus. This is crazy. Right. So how did you get to that? Yeah. All right. So you can get that on African News. All right. African News, and like I said, viral racist treatment on Africans in China sparks Twitter outrage. Okay. And yeah, certain leaders have been addressed. African leaders have been addressing it. Okay, or the ambassadors of those leaderships have been addressing it. So, and the Chinese government recognised what's going on. It says a major Chinese outlet, the Xinhua news agency, reported on Tuesday that as of Monday, April the 14th, over 100 Africans in Chinese southern cities of Guangzhou has tested positive for novel coronavirus. Yeah. So Xinhua quoted Chen Xingying's executive vice mayor of Yangzhou as saying of the 111 confirmed cases, 19 were reported. The vice mayor also confirmed that a total of 4,553 African people in the city had undergone nucleic acid testing since April the 4th. Guangzhou, the capital of Guangdong province, had made news headlines after a number of Africans were evicted from their places of lodging amid reports of racist abuse related to the coronavirus. The Chinese foreign minister on Monday admitted receipts of complaints by African governments that foreigners of African appearance in the city of Guangzhou were being subjected to forceful testing for the coronavirus, quarantines and ill treatment. All right? US diplomats also reported that African Americans had been targeted. So what I'm saying is, it doesn't matter if you're a black person, you're from America, Africa, Europe, anywhere in the world. If you're in China, they just look at you as all the same. They just see you as black, right? And they're just going to pull you in. They're going to target you, and they want to test you for the CV-19 virus. We don't know what's happening after that, right? But I've seen videos where people have been handcuffed, okay, and they've been dragged. I've been told also that they're locking them up in hotels and things like that, right? Quarantine them, right? Took their passports and all kinds of things like that, right? And I'm not sure, but there's quite a lot of black people in China. I've heard some, there's I don't know, about 300,000, right? So this is what's going on. It says the Foreign Ministry will stay in close communication with the Zhongdong authorities and continue responding to African sides' reasonable concerns and legitimate appeals. The viral knows no boundaries. The pandemic, a challenge to all mankind, can only be defeated through concerted international efforts with mutual understanding, mutual support and cooperation. We are ready to continue working with African friends to achieve the final victory. Yeah, right. But I don't really like the response of the African governments. I'm not joking. It's very weak. There's no strong statements. There's no real actions taken. No demands, nothing. Anyway, that's just me talking, yeah? Sayshara. And anybody wants to comment on anything that I'm saying of what you heard, you're welcome to call 073 0541 7668. Yeah, so April the 12th, African nations berate China over COVID-19 linked racism in Guangzhou. African officials are confronting China publicly in private over racist mistreatment of Africans in the Chinese city of Guangzhou, and the US says African Americans have been targeted too. Some Africans in the commercial hub have reported being evicted or discriminated against amid coronavirus fears. A US Embassy security alert on Saturday said that the police ordered bars and restaurants not to serve clients who appeared to be of African origin, and local officials have launched mandatory testing and self-quarantine for anyone with African contacts. All right, this is happening in China. That's in response to a rise in virus infections in Guangzhou. The US said, adding that African Americans have also reported that some businesses and hotels refuse to do business with them. The US statement is titled Discrimination Against African Americans in Guangzhou. A recent increase in virus cases in China has been largely attributed to people arriving from overseas. This is what they're saying, but, we don't really know. No one's investigating things properly, so we don't know, right? But this is what they're saying. Anyway, it says, for most people, the coronavirus causes mild or moderate symptoms such as fever and cold, but for others, especially older adults and people with health problems, it can cause severe symptoms like pneumonia. The Police and Public Health Bureau in Guangzhou on Tuesday told reporters that officials have responded to rumours that 300,000 black people, this is where I got the number 300,000 black people in Guangzhou were setting off a second epidemic, which caused panic, officials said. The rumours were untrue. So basically, there's a rumour that's going around with this second pandemic, and they're saying it's black people that's causing it, right? So I'm interested to know how many black people are in China. It looks like there's more than 300,000. Maybe there's a million. Who knows? Maybe a couple of million. All right. Anyway, it says African diplomats in Beijing have met with Chinese foreign minister officials and stayed in a very strong term that concern and condemnation of the disturbing and humiliating experiences our citizens have been subjected to. Sierra Leone's embassy in Beijing said in a statement Friday, adding that 14 citizens have been put into compulsory 14-day quarantine. The diplomats reminded officials of their support of China during the pandemic, especially in the early days. Some African nations that had scores or even hundreds of students stranded during China's early lockdown have sided with Chinese officials against calls for evacuations, and many African nations publicly African nations praised Beijing for its virus response. Separately, in an unusually open critique of Beijing, the Speaker of Nigeria's House of Representatives tweeted a video of himself pressing the Chinese ambassador on the issue. It's almost undiplomatic the way I'm talking, but it's because I'm upset what's going on, said Femi Gbajabiamila. Sorry, definitely pronounced that wrong. It's spelled Gbajabiamila. So if I break that down, it's Gbajabiamila. Says, we take it very seriously. Ambassador Zhou Pingjiang replies, Nigerian Foreign Minister Jeffrey Onyema said he summoned the ambassador to express extreme concern and call for an immediate government response. Anyway, this goes on and on and on, right? But you get the picture. There's all these diplomatic conversations going around in the background, but again, like I said, there's no strong statement, right? And then if you look at this website, this article, it's giving you up to date the 18th, okay? Ghana's coronavirus cases hit 834, recoveries at 99. IMF loan okayed. Whoa. African coronavirus cases passes 20,000 mark after deaths hit 1,000, which is not a lot, right? Anyway, it says Nigeria coronavirus, there's one person that's passed away. Bahari loses chief of staff Abba Kayari. Twitter reacts. Okay. It says countries with 100 plus coronavirus cases. All right, so it says there, look, Africa has got 20,000. What does it say? Is that near cases? Yeah, 20,000 near cases, whatever that means. Okay, and well, deaths mark 1,000. 1,000. Right. So, yeah. Well, they shut down the whole of Africa for what? 20,000 cases, 1,000 deaths. Well, anyway, right now there was a letter that's very interesting. Now let me cover this letter. That was a strong statement from the African Iron lady. I just call her Dr. Arikana, but she's called Lady Chiambori Kwapens. Strong open letter to Chinese president. So you got the African Diaspora Development Institution. All right, and I'm just going to read this letter quickly, okay? So you get an idea. It came out April the 13th. And so this letter would have been sent to the Chinese government or the Chinese Communist Party. It says here, quote, former African Union ambassador to the United States. Oh, to the United States. Yeah, sorry. Yeah. So basically, yeah, she used to be the African Union ambassador to the United States. Right? She calling for France for bullying her former colonies and sparking a global uproar against the European country is at it again, and this time China is the receiving end. The medical doctor turned chief African diaspora advocate penned a strong yet diplomatically and contextually appropriate open letter to Xi Jinping for his social media accounts of victimization and stigmatization of Africans in China. The letter, written on behalf of enraged African diasporas around the globe, reminded the Chinese leader about the warm and wholehearted welcome that Chinese nationals have received across the African continent. To His Excellency Mr. Xi Jinping, President of the People's Republic of China. Is it still called that? Right. Anyway, I don't know if I pronounce this, but it says Zhong Yang Yao, Xing Shu, Beijing, from the African Explorer Development Institute, ADDI, on behalf of the enraged African explorer around the globe. Subject: human rights violations and inhumane treatment of black people living in China. Date 13th of April 2020. Okay, so the subject is human rights violations and inhumane treatment of black African people living in China. Right, 13th of April 2020. Your Excellency, the African Explorer Development Institution, ADDI, is an umbrella organization of over 210 million people living in the diaspora. For centuries, Africa has warmly and wholeheartedly welcomed Chinese nationals onto its shores, allowing them to settle, marry and prosper without an hint of racial discrimination, bigotry or harassment or intimidation. The former chairperson of the African Union between 2008 to 2012, Mr. Jean Ping, was a child of a Chinese explorer from Wenzhou, Zhejiang, who came to Gabon as a timber harvester. Currently, there are over 10 million Chinese nationals living in Africa. There's a figure, right? So there's 10 million Chinese nationals living in Africa and are being treated with the dignity and respect that any human being deserves. It is against this backdrop that over 1.3 billion Africans on the continent and 240 million in the diaspora unite in horror as we watch our black brothers and sisters, sons and daughters being dragged like wild animals in the streets by Chinese authorities. Okay, and there's some references there, yeah? Many have been kicked out of their homes and hotels and are subject to insults and extreme inhumane treatments. These are serious violations of which we, black people, are not going to stand by and tolerate. Africans have been accused of bringing COVID-19, the killer disease, to China. Well, it's debatable whether it's a killer disease, you know what I'm saying? It's a bit strong language, right? But anyway, so this, reading this letter, it says that the killer disease to China and the world knows very well that the COVID-19 began in Wuhan. Right. People's Republic of China, not Africa. In 2016, Africans were shocked by China's racist whitewashing advertisement depicting a Chinese lady putting a tab of detergent into the mouth of a black man, shoving him head first into a washing machine. Then they, hey presto, emerged as a fair-skinned Chinese man. In 2018, we, the Africans, watched in silence as we depicted as monkeys in a lavish 4-hour Lunar New Year show that was televised to millions across China. We have also been receiving numerous reports of African nationals being mistreated, slapped, kicked and spat on in the streets of China by racist Chinese nationalists for absolutely no reason except that they were black. On the continent, Chinese nationals have been captured on video beating and mistreating their employees, as well as actually insulting Kenya's president, His Excellency President Uhuru Kenyatta. These troubling events are taking place in the background of your government's plan to send over 300 million Chinese to Africa by 2030. All right? Do you hear that? Let me repeat that. The government of China is planning to send over 300 million Chinese to Africa by 2030. Your Excellency, how exactly do you think that is going to work? The United Nations is an international watchdog. Yeah, really. Yeah? They're a dog plane. There ain't no watching and there ain't no international. They're just the dogs for all human rights abuses around the world. And a permanent member of the United Nations Security Council, China should be the last country to violate human rights. And it's because they're a permanent member of the United Security Council. Remember I said to you, there's only 5 that are permanent members, and that's China, Russia, America, or United States of America, France and England, right? So China should be, you know what I'm saying? Why should China care? You know what I'm saying? Right? Nobody cares. Let's be real. Nobody cares. Nobody's saying anything, innit? Other than, you know, obviously black people, over emotional. And that's all we are. We're just over emotional, no action, no demands, just bunch of rhetoric. Right? But anytime these people do anything, I'll say, anytime we do anything, right? In this case, we're not doing anything, right? But anytime black people do anything, you see how fast they're going to get the whip out. Anyway, it says that Africans have endured centuries of inhuman treatment, abuse, racial and socio-economic discrimination. Let's say white supremacy, period, yeah? The inhumane actions against Africans take place in the People's Republic of China are deplorable, unlawful and criminal. They contravene international human rights norms. Now, the same people that set these laws up, okay, they're abusing them every day in Africa, in the Caribbean, in poor countries, all the time. Poor people are just being abused, used and abused, and you see people generations after generations battered and bruised with all these problems and issues that goes on that's been perpetuated. Anyway, it says here, going back to this letter by the African Iron Lady, Dr. Arukana, an open letter to the Chinese president. And nearly finished reading it. It says, we're just talking about the abuse that we've been facing for hundreds and hundreds of years, right? Nothing new there. So it says they contravene international human rights norms and conventions and have the potential of precipitating reprisals against Chinese nationals on the African continent. Such barbaric, unprecedented attacks against the black race will definitely erode the friendly diplomatic relations that the People's Republic of China enjoys with all the African countries, while recognizing that the majority of your citizens are good people. A few among them are bad apples whose behavior should not tarnish the good relations that China has had with African countries. Then there's 4 references here that you can go to. But they've not highlighted the references. They should have highlighted the references so you can just tap on them, the links, and you can go straight there. Anyway, no problem. But you just have to tap it in. All right? So anyway, it says, Your Excellency, we know you would not tolerate harassment, intimidation, and inhumane treatment of Chinese diaspora living in Africa, and that you would demand that your brothers and sisters be treated in a manner that is right, just and fair all the time. And it's true, right? That sort of animosity, that kind of hatred type of behavior, right? It's going to reflect on people and the relationship that, you know, black people's going to have with Chinese and Chinese going to have with black people. Because now, you know, how black people supposed to feel about that? Anyway, it's in conclusion, it says, Your Excellency, the abuse of Africans in China is tantamount to racism, discrimination, and a serious violation of human rights. It is a spirit of fairness and respect for human rights that we urge in the strongest of terms to put an immediate end to the harassment, intimidation, and inhumane treatment meted out against our African brothers and sisters, sons and daughters living in your country. The line has been crossed and enough is enough. We demand immediate reciprocity. Chinese citizens must treat Africans in China in the same way that they would want their citizens to be treated in Africa. Please accept this letter in the spirit with which it was written. Signed, Excellence, Ambassador Arukana Chiambori Kwa MD, former African Union Ambassador to the United States of America, President of Africa Diaspora Development Institution. It was supposed to be signed by or copied by all African heads of states. His Excellency Cyril Ramaphosa, Chairman of the African Union, H.E. Musa Faki Mahatma, Chairman of the African Union Commission, H.E. Antonio Guterres, United Nations Secretary General, H.E. Ambassador Kotang K, Embassy of the People's Republic of China to the USA. All right. So basically, you can go get the article, Africa's Iron Lady Chi Ombiri, or Chi Ombori, spelled CHIHOMBORI hyphen Quaya, spelled QUAO, pens strong open letter to Chinese president. All right. So African Iron Lady Chiombori Kwa pen strong open letter to Chinese president, and that's a response from the institution of the African Diaspora Development Institution. That's ADDI. Right? April the 13th, 2020. Okay. So basically, there you have it. All right. Let me just go back. So basically, we've been jumping from Africa to China and to the UK or Britain, and you see that we've become the target. Now going back, jumping back to Britain, okay, where I mentioned in the conversation with Macron in this country that there's going to be an inquiry announcing this disproportionate impact of coronavirus on AME, which is black and minority ethnic communities, okay? So they just put us into this lump, okay, and it's called us BAMI, right? Anyway, it says, while black and minority ethnic people make up, while black and minority ethnic people make up only 14% of the UK population, they account for 35% of coronavirus patients in intensive care. Right? So that's The Guardian. Then we got The Telegraph. Why are so many black and ethnic minority people dying from coronavirus? Right? And then they give you figures as well, but their figures are slightly different. It says, despite only accounting for 13% of the population in England and Wales, 44% of national health doctors and 24% of nurses are from a BAME background, okay? So that's why there's a difference of figures there, because now they're talking about nurses and doctors in the National Health Service that are black or of ethnic communities. So really Asians or black people they're talking about, yeah? And then it says there's going to be a review into why people from ethnic minorities are disturbingly and disproportionately affected by coronavirus has been launched by the government. The inquiry comes after weeks of pressure on ministers to launch an investigation into the issue. Right? So that's that article. And then the last and final article, which came out just, what's today? The 18th. Right? So, yesterday. Coronavirus cases to be tracked by ethnicity. So how are they going to go about doing this, huh? All right, so it says here they've done research which suggests black people from black and Asian and minority ethnic backgrounds are at greater risk of becoming seriously ill with COVID-19. Now, all this stuff is really debatable and it's theoretical, and we can postulate around a lot of different things, but I think we really need to see independent information. Like I said, I think without understanding the whole thing around autopsies, or what Americans call the coroner's report, autopsies report, we're not going to be able to find out if they're saying what they're saying is true. What they're saying out there, and this is the confusion, like I said, they're convoluting and conflating these figures, right? And they're hyper-inflated figures because they're mixing everything into one. And they're convoluting and conflating the figures, right? So they're saying people are dying with COVID-19, coronavirus, but they're not saying of coronavirus. Like, it's just that. And one thing I've learned, there's two things that I found out. I mean, I don't understand. I mean, understanding the whole human biological anatomical structure is very, very complex. It's very, very complex. Okay, right? But one of the, the more you study, the more you learn and develop, you get to understand the language and you get familiar with certain things. And they talk a lot about these viruses being what we have anyway. We have viruses in them, in our body. And these viruses are designed to protect anything that's going to compromise our body. And if it does get compromised, the viruses in our body, then it's going to create antioxidants and anti-chemicals, basically, or bacteria, things that's going to be infectious, right? So we have that anyway, right? And then we have the immune system, but we have different mechanisms in place, okay, to protect us, or to also not also to protect us, but also to counteract anything invading your body, just providing you healthy. Obviously, you're eating right foods, you're fit and healthy, and all of this stuff. Okay, you have to take all these things, the factors. So that's one thing that I'm learning about and understanding about. Okay, and then the second thing is that if they say that if there's a virus, they have to isolate this virus. They have to isolate it. Okay, and when they're looking for a microscope, for example, and they have to isolate, or when they're doing testing, trying to separate the DNA and the RNA and all of this stuff, okay? Basically, whatever the components are, or the compositions of what it is, okay, in order for them to really detect what's going on, they have to isolate. They have to isolate whatever things are there. So they have to separate it from anything to avoid any contamination, so they don't get a wrong reading, or they don't get a wrong result, right? And that's really important. I've learned that there's a test that they're trying to push out there called the RT-PCR test, right? And I looked at this test and I thought, right, what's this test really all about? They kept on talking about this test, right? And this is the test that they're going to use to check to see if you've got the coronavirus symptom test and all of that, right? And it's very interesting that the person who invented the model for it, okay, said it's not accurate. He even said it's not accurate, right? And his name is Kray Mullis. Kray Mullis. Kray Mullis, right? All right, so maybe as time goes by, maybe we'll get into a little bit more technical in details when we're talking about trying to develop an understanding around understanding what these vaccines are, what viruses are, what RFR, radio frequency radiation are, and develop a better understanding around what people are talking about, and just not get baffled by the science. Okay, we can challenge it, and once we get into the science, yeah. I don't know. Anyway, I don't mind. I don't have a problem with it, but some people have a problem with it, right? With reading or developing a certain attitude to think. Because I hear some people dismissing this whole thing, and they don't even read anything about it. They're dismissing 5G or RFR, and they've got no idea. They don't even read one document. There's thousands of reports, thousands of research study papers on RFR. It's nothing new. It's been around. The World Health Organization, well, nowadays we can't trust them, but they even said that these frequencies are, dangerous, right? Carcinogenic, right? So, and that's just talking about 2G and 3G. Now, the G just means generational, yeah? And so 5G, they are going to be talking about rolling out 5G, or they're talking about all over the globe rolling out 5G across the globe, right? But then they're going to be talking about rolling out 6G and the 7G. We don't know where it's going to go next, yeah? But we're going to be invaded by a lot of radiation and overexposure and understanding why it's important that it could cause health effects, and that research needs to be done around that right now. Government research, as I'm saying, the government hasn't got anything on it. They haven't really got anything on 5G. All the reports that you see out there, and then there's, mostly done independently by some really good people, right? And then there's reports out there, you're going to get confused, some people, because there are people that would debunk that these radiation will cause harmful effects. There's loads of websites that's going to debunk it, right? But then, like I said, you got to use your own intelligence, okay? How you navigate yourself around certain information, right? It's not hard. That, obviously, the strength of radiation, the distance that you are from it, the intensity, all these different factors. There's so many different factors you have to take into consideration. You cannot just debunk it or just denounce that it's nonsense. And I hear a lot of some people trying to say that on one radio station. He's saying, what's he saying? He's saying, my cousin's a physicist. So what? You don't have to be a scientist or a physicist to understand and have common sense to know what's good and bad for you. Do you know what I'm saying? Right? All right, so look. Counted down the seconds, actually. I've got a couple more minutes. I want to say I've got so much stuff to talk about that I only really touched in. I wanted to talk about why I think all vaccination programs in Africa are nothing more than indoctrination into some form of belief system based on a biological pseudoscience, which is Western science versus African science. Where is the African science in all of this? Right? So the continent of Africa has the most natural elements: plant life, roots, herbs, leaves, barks, seeds, trees, fruits, vegetables, whole grain, in abundance. Africa has all of this, right? And we're still depending on Western pseudoscience to improve our health and security. That's why I'm talking about Africa, Caribbean. All black people need to protect their own health and well-being. And this whole thing around following this World Health Organization is never going to work for us. All right? So, I want to definitely thank all those people locked in and tuned in. I'm not able to deliver as much information as I want to. I apologize for if I've lacked of giving off the information. But next week we're going to follow up. Maybe we might get a few interviews. Other than that, I want to say peace be with you. Look after your family regardless. Look after your elders regardless. All right? And continue to protect our health and our well-being and our lives, and why it's important that we need to do that, because our children are very important as well. And I want to big up Freestyle. He's going to be coming in and going to really edifying you musically, informationally, awareness. Yeah. Bring it on, brother Freestyle. We're going to be looked on and tuned in as per usual. And, keep it locked in for it.
For Africans here, it's not healthy for us to stay here all winter. That's a real problem for us because we need intense sunlight all of the time. And the darker you are, the more vulnerable you are by staying in dim areas of the country and not getting adequate exposure. So I have found